Chapter 451, Cold War. Girls, dinner is ready. Grandma called out from the living room. Coming, Grandma. From the rooms downstairs and upstairs, Lu Linlin, Lu Lily, Xie Yujia, and Zhao Yanzi came out almost at the same time. In her apron, Grandma couldn't stop smiling. Zhen Kongming yawned while he walked out of his room with Little White following him closely. Hao Ren walked downstairs from the second floor wearing a short-sleeved shirt. Come and eat zongzi. Grandma led the girls to the table and put chopsticks before them. Thank you, Grandma, Xie Yujia and the other three girls said simultaneously. The fillings are duck egg and fresh pork. Each of you must eat at least 2 zongzi, or you'll get hungry. Grandma smiled and asked, how were your sleeps last night? Very good, Grandma, Zhao Yanzi answered before the others. That's good. Grandma nodded with satisfaction. Ren, you are a young man and must eat at least 3 zongzi. Okay. Hao Ren sat at the table and sighed helplessly when he saw that the zongzi were as big as fists. Little White, come. You eat a zongzi too. Grandma put a small bowl on the floor and unwrapped a small zongzi before putting it into the bowl. Little White sniffed at it and decided that it didn't want to eat it. This puppy is picky. Grandma patted Little White's head lightly. Little White, be good. Xie Yujia urged. Reluctantly, Little White lowered its head and began to nibble at the zongzi. When it was halfway through the dumpling, it found something else besides meat. It was an essence combination pill. It was a type of elixir pill that was most fitting for spirit beasts since it could improve the spirit beast's physique and accelerate their growth. Exhilarated, Little White's eyes lit up and swallowed the rest of the zongzi. It looked up at Grandma expectantly, hoping for another one. However, Grandma called out, Zonghua, Yu Yang, drive the kids to school. Hao Zonghua and Yu Yang each drove a white Ford to the gate of the house, beckoning at them. Thank you, Auntie. Lu Linlin and Lu Lily ran over and got in Yu Yang's car before the others. Auntie. Zhao Yanzi jumped into Yu Yang's car. Obviously, Yu Yang liked her more than Hao Zonghua. Xie Yujia helped Grandma to clean up before walking out and getting into Hao Zonghua's car. Hao Ren followed her into the car as well. Stretching, Zhen Kongming also got into Hao Zonghua's car. Yu Yang bought a new white Ford. With 4 members in the family, 1 car had been sufficient for them. However, with the increase of the temporary and permanent residents living in their home, 1 car could no longer meet the needs of the family. Due to yesterday's rain, the road was slippery, and the Ford driven by Yu Yang, who was not a very skillful driver, was very soon left behind by Hao Zonghua's Ford. Yesterday, I had a small argument with your mom, Hao Zonghua said while he drove the car. Huh? Hao Ren turned to look at Hao Zonghua. Over some minor things. Hao Zonghua shook his head and looked at Xie Yujia who was sitting in the back seat through the rear-view mirror. Yujia, are you going to the US for the summer break? Ah? Surprised, Xie Yujia nodded. I'm supposed to visit my parents in the US. Hao Ren turned to look back at Xie Yujia, but he remained silent. Xie Yujia missed her parents in the US, and it was natural for her to keep them company during the summer vacation. Ren, do you want to go with Yujia? Hao Zonghua asked suddenly. Hao Ren looked at Hao Zonghua in surprise. Yujia's parents cared for you when you were little, and they hoped that you could visit them in the US, Hao Zonghua continued. N0V3LTR0V served as the original host for this chapter's release on NOV3LB1N. Oh, Hao Ren hesitated. Aren't Yujia's parents very busy with their business? Their factories recruited several managers. Besides, their business is usually slow in July and August, and they are not busy in that period, Hao Zonghua said. Hearing his father's words, Hao Ren turned to look at Xie Yujia and nodded. Okay, I'll go and visit them. Okay, Hao Zonghua nodded with satisfaction. I'll take a few days off and go with you. Isn't Mom going? Hao Ren asked immediately. Hao Zonghua tightened his grip on the steering wheel and said, she will be busy, and I don't think she can take any time off after the end of June. Oh, Hao Ren didn't ask any more questions. He glanced in the rear-view mirror on his side and couldn't see Yu Yang's Ford anymore. When Hao Zonghua dropped off Zhen Kongming at the gate of Lingjiao Elementary School, Hao Ren who was sitting in the passenger seat saw a white Ford stopped at Lingjiao Middle School not far from them. Vivacious Zhao Yanzi got out of the white Ford and waved at the driver enthusiastically. Whoosh! Hao Zonghua started his Ford and passed Yu Yang's Ford. It was evident to Hao Ren that his parents were in a cold war. About 10 minutes later, Hao Zonghua drove Hao Ren and Xie Yujia to the gate of East Ocean University. Thank you, Uncle. Xie Yujia got out of the car and felt a little awkward. Dad, drive safe. Hao Ren said to Hao Zonghua. I will. Hao Zonghua waved at him before turning the white Ford smoothly toward the direction of the Ocean Research Institute where he worked. Standing before the school gate, Hao Ren and Xie Yujia looked at each other with some embarrassment. Let's go. The first class is about to begin, Xie Yujia said. Okay. Hao Ren turned immediately and strode into campus. Shoulder to shoulder, they walked toward Academic Building C with thoughts weighing on their minds, but neither of them wanted to share their thoughts with each other. The campus road was wet and full of puddles. While they walked around the puddles, they saw the reflections of them walking shoulder to shoulder in the water. If it's not convenient for you, you don't have to go and visit my parents, Xie Yujia said in a low voice. Oh, it's not like that, Hao Ren answered hurriedly. There are many things that I haven't told them, Xie Yujia said again in a low voice. For example? Hao Ren asked tentatively. For example, I haven't told them that I like you, Xie Yujia said. Splash. Hao Ren stepped into a puddle. He turned to look at Xie Yujia and saw her expression didn't change. I'm just kidding. My parents miss you as well. Xie Yujia quickened her steps and walked into Academic Building C. After flicking the water off his shoes, Hao Ren hurriedly entered the Academic Building C after her. They walked upstairs to the third floor and entered classroom 312. Their classmates had gotten used to seeing them coming to class together. After all, in everyone's eyes, Hao Ren was Xie Yujia's boyfriend, and they were an official couple. There were 2 vacant seats in the front row of the classroom. Even though Zhou Liren, who was sitting in the last row, waved at Hao Ren enthusiastically, Hao Ren followed Xie Yujia, and they sat in the 2 empty seats in the front row. Damn. You forget your buddies when you're with your girlfriend, Zhou Liren muttered, ignoring the fact that he himself would immediately ditch his buddies at the sight of beautiful girls. Pitter-patter, it began to drizzle outside the classroom. The students who had just returned from the Dragon Boat Festival holiday were all tired while the teacher on the platform was discussing the summary for the final exam. Xie Yujia borrowed Ma Lina's notes and began to copy them earnestly while Hao Ren looked up and listened carefully. After reaching Gen level, not only his cultivation strength grew, but his IQ experienced an increase as well. He understood everything the teacher said while the complicated structures of the mechanical parts took shape in his mind quickly. He just couldn't understand why Zhao Yanzi, who had reached Gen level and thus was supposed to be a gifted girl, would be so poor in her studies. He attributed it to her inattention to her classes. The only sounds in the classroom were the teacher's voice and the scratching sounds on paper as students took notes. Outside, the drizzle washed the dust off the flowers and grasses, making the red and green colors more vibrant. Suddenly, he remembered the inspector's token that he had tossed into his necklace. He took it out immediately and attached it to a string on his waist. Come to my office when the class is over, Su Han's voice sounded suddenly. Okay, Hao Ren answered immediately. All the other students and the teacher looked at Hao Ren, who had spoken suddenly. Nothing. Hao Ren lowered his head slowly. He was still not used to receiving messages from Su Han through the token. How was your trip to 6th heaven? Su Han asked. How did you know that I went to 6th heaven? Hao Ren asked in surprise. Of course, it was convenient to communicate without opening his mouth, but he had a weird feeling as if Su Han was living in his heart. Do you think the Dragon God Shrine doesn't know everything you do? Su Han said coldly. Hao Ren was surprised that the Dragon God Shrine still knew his whereabouts after he put the token, equivalent to a tracker, into his storage space which could disconnect nature essences and spiritual senses. It seemed to have nothing to do with the token. The intelligence network of the Dragon God Shrine had spread to places above 5th heaven, and its ability in collecting information was phenomenal. I just looked around on 6th heaven. What are you doing? Hao Ren asked. No matter how powerful the intelligence network was, Hao Ren thought that it was not able to penetrate the ethereal summit, which meant that the valley on 5th heaven was absolutely his private territory. I'm drinking tea and cultivating, Su Han said. I see. Hao Ren could imagine the scene of Su Han cultivating in her office. On a rainy day like this, Su Han would look especially charming while she sat at the window. If it's convenient for you, Su Han suddenly sounded hesitant. Can you ask Xie Yujia to make 2 more beauty pills for me? You want them for someone? Hao Ren asked. For myself. They are really effective. My skin got smoother after I took it, Su Han answered. Hao Ren lowered his head in exasperation. Chapter 452. Women's minds are hard to guess. Ask Xie Yujia to come with you after class. That's all. Su Han disconnected their communication. Touching the token at his waist, Hao Ren knew he could call Su Han any time but didn't dare to interrupt her cultivation. There are 3 ways to control the DC motor speed, which are connecting the armature circuit with resistance in series, changing the armature voltage and weakening the magnetic flux. The teacher was still talking on the platform. He turned his head and found Xie Yujia writing her notes in great detail. These notes would be the greatest help to them on their final exams. Didi, Hao Ren got a text message on his cell phone. He clicked it open and saw it was from Zhou Liren. Please make a copy of Xie Yujia's notes for your buddies in miseries. Hao Ren looked back at Zhou Liren, who was smiling flatteringly at him with his hands in a praying gesture. Hao Ren looked at him in disgust, and turned back to the lesson. Didi, he got another text message. You are coming to tutor me tonight, right? It was from Zhao Yanzi. Hao Ren exited the message app and logged into his QQ account on his cell phone. Sure enough, Zhao Yanzi was online. The final exams are near. You must focus on reviewing in class, Hao Ren typed. The teachers are boring. You teach better than they do, Zhao Yanzi replied immediately. I'm busy tonight and can't go to your place, Hao Ren replied. What? You don't dare. Zhao Yanzi got frustrated by his message. Picturing Zhao Yanzi pouting in her classroom, Hao Ren couldn't help smiling while he typed his answer. Don't go up to the 5th heaven these few days and focus on reviewing. I'll go over tonight. Humph. 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 Zhao Yanzi typed 4 humphs and nothing else. Hao Ren turned his head and looked out of the window at the misty campus in the drizzle. Zhao Yanzi must be seeing a similar scene in her school while she is sitting in her classroom with her mind wandering, Hao Ren thought. Ding, the bell rang, signaling the end of the class. Xie Yujia returned the notes to Ma Lina, and she would copy them again back in her dorm. She was the most diligent student in the class as well as the best student. Even when she had to spend energy to manage class affairs, she received scholarships each term. Big brother. Big brother. Zhou Liren dragged Huang Jianfeng and others to Hao Ren's side. Can we borrow notes from our sister-in-law? Now that Xie Yujia was Hao Ren's girlfriend, they thought they were close to her as Hao Ren's buddies. Since they received no reply from Hao Ren, they came to beg in person. Although she still had some authority over them as the former class president, Xie Yujia blushed slightly when she heard them call her sister-in-law in the front of the whole class. Sis, before Zhou Liren could finish, Xie Yujia hurriedly packed up and said, go get them from Ma Lina. All my notes are on my bookshelf. Thanks a lot, sister-in-law. Zhou Liren turned to Ma Lina happily. Ma Lina snorted lightly. Follow me. Okay. Thank you, big sister. Zhou Liren followed Ma Lina closely. After all, he and his buddies had failed several courses last year. If they continued like this, they would be finished. What a bonus to be buddies with Hao Ren. After Zhou Liren left, Xie Yujia turned her head back with pinkness still on her face. I'll go to the library and borrow some books. I'll go with you, Hao Ren said as he looked at the drizzle outside. Xie Yujia had left her bicycle at her dorm building and had to walk to the library. In the drizzle, the air in the school was exceptionally fresh, and the students who were passing them added energy to the campus. Xie Yujia lifted her slim white arm and placed her palm above her forehead to block the fine drizzle. With her white skin, slim fingers, and perfect arm shape, she looked even more beautiful than those artistic statues made with great efforts. The male students who were on their way to class all kept glancing at Xie Yujia. That guy is Hao Ren, right? His girlfriend Xie Yujia is really beautiful. The whispered gossips entered Hao Ren's ears. Let's go. Hao Ren held onto Xie Yujia's hand and quickened his steps. Surprised, Xie Yujia's eyes opened more, and she immediately quickened her steps to match Hao Ren's. The fine drizzle left moisture on her arms, and her skin felt cool. When Hao Ren held her hand and silently injected a trace of fire elemental nature essence into her body, she suddenly felt a sense of warmth. Xie Yujia's life-death notes could absorb nature essence from the surroundings. At this moment, her heart felt warm along with her body. Wearing a short-sleeved denim shirt and a fluttering plaid skirt, her long and slim legs attracted the male students' attention. Although she was wearing a pair of flat canvas shoes instead of high heels, her figure was more eye-catching than those girls who spent lots of time on their makeup and outfits. The guys who kept looking back at Xie Yujia with longing suddenly stumbled forward into the academic buildings as a gust of wind blew at them. Su Han asked us to go to her office. I didn't mention it in the classroom with all the classmates near us, Hao Ren said. Okay. Xie Yujia nodded and forgot that she planned to go to the library. Holding Xie Yujia's hand, Hao Ren jumped over the puddles steadily while they walked toward the administration building which was beside the library. In her canvas shoes, Xie Yujia jumped agilely between the puddles while holding tightly onto Hao Ren. This is enough for me, Xie Yujia told herself silently. Hao Ren didn't release Xie Yujia's slim and soft hand until they stepped onto the steps of the administration building where the teachers worked in, and he brushed the raindrops from his jacket. Xie Yujia lowered her head to tidy up her hair and followed Hao Ren up to the third floor. Hao Ren was familiar with the way and walked directly to Su Han's office door. "Come in." Sensing Hao Ren's arrival, Su Han said before Hao Ren knocked on the door. Hao Ren pushed open the door while Xie Yujia stood by his side nervously. "Ms. Su." Xie Yujia saw Su Han and greeted her cautiously. Although she had seen Su Han several times outside of the school and even watched the dragon boat race during the Dragon Boat Festival yesterday with her, Xie Yujia was still nervous when she saw this iceberg-like, beautiful teacher in the school. "Come in," Su Han said calmly. Hao Ren walked in, and Xie Yujia followed him immediately. "I'll go to the Kunlun mountain with you," Su Han stared at Hao Ren and said. "Kunlun?" Hao Ren was baffled. "Yeah." Su Han nodded. "I went to the Dragon God Shrine and looked up the 7-core 5-color lotus. It turned out that it came from Kunlun. We may find another lotus there." Hao Ren suddenly understood that Su Han meant to look for another 7-core 5-color lotus in Kunlun and realized that she left yesterday to look up the origin of the 7-core 5-color lotus in the Dragon God Shrine. Su Han did things in her own way. However, Hao Ren didn't expect Su Han, who spent each second on cultivation and never minded other people's business, would help him find information about the 7-core 5-color lotus without being asked. At this thought, Hao Ren looked at the cold-faced Su Han and felt a bit touched. "Don't be grateful. Helping you is helping myself. After all, the elevation in your realm is beneficial to me." Seeing the appreciation on Hao Ren's face, Su Han said coldly. Her words dampened Hao Ren's spirits like a basin of cold water. "Ah, what do you know about the Kunlun mountain?" Hao Ren immediately adjusted his mood and asked. "The Kunlun mountain is the last territory that human cultivators have on First Heaven and a forbidden place for dragon cultivators. It's equivalent to the holy place of our dragon cultivators, the Nine-Dragon Palace, which is located on Fifth Heaven," Su Han said. It was Xie Yujia's first time to hear about this, and she listened carefully since it concerned Hao Ren's future. Hao Ren vaguely remembered that when Su Han passed by the Kunlun mountain on her way to the Sky Mountain in the northwest region, she was stopped by some cultivators and was let go due to her identity as an inspector. He didn't know that the Kunlun mountain was the last territory of the human cultivators on land instead of the territory of the dragon cultivators. "What kind of cultivators are in the Kunlun mountain?" Hao Ren asked. "I don't know the specifics, but it said that some soul formation realm cultivators reside there. If you want to look for the 7-core 5-color lotus, I'll take the risk and go with you." Su Han's expression was calm while her tone was mild. Soul formation realm cultivator. Hao Ren thought of the old grandma who sent Zhao Kuo, a master, flying. Although Su Han was at top-tier Qian level, she was no match for a god transformation realm cultivator. "I'll go with you," Xie Yujia said suddenly. Hao Ren, who had been in deep thought, turned his gaze toward Xie Yujia while Su Han looked toward Xie Yujia's shoulder. 7-core 5-color lotus, Kunlun mountain. Hao Ren was quite tempted. After all, compared with the 3 lotus seeds that required careful nurturing, it would be quite convenient if they could find a mature 7-core 5-color lotus. However, there were 3 risks. Firstly, there might not be more 7-core 5-color lotuses. Secondly, the grandmasters on the soul formation realm had unpredictable moods. Thirdly, Kunlun was the origin of the human cultivation sects, and the dragon cultivators were not allowed to enter. "Forget it. Let's not take risks." After some consideration, Hao Ren decided against the idea. Just like how the Nine Dragons Palace didn't welcome trespassing human cultivators, the Kunlun Mountain didn't welcome dragon cultivators. Although Su Han's cultivation strength was equivalent to a top-tier nascent soul realm cultivator, she couldn't afford to mess with a soul formation realm cultivator. "If you say so, we'll postpone it." Su Han exhaled lightly and looked at Xie Yujia. "Do you have any more beauty pills?" "Yeah, I have some." Xie Yujia immediately took out a small porcelain bottle from her bracelet. Su Han took it and found 3 pills in it. With a big smile, she said, "Just give me 2 pills." "It's okay. Take them all," Xie Yujia said without hesitation. With her current elixir-making skills, it wasn't hard for her to make beauty pills as long as she got all the necessary materials. "Okay." Su Han didn't reject it. Putting the small porcelain bottle into her bracelet, she said in satisfaction, "I won't take your pills for nothing. How about this? I'll tutor your cultivation before you reach the core formation realm." Su Han's realm was equivalent to top-tier nascent soul realm. Although she didn't know anything about the essence cultivation scroll, her experience could still benefit Xie Yujia. Xie Yujia had been probing along all by herself in cultivation and was happy to get mentored by Su Han, a cultivation maniac. Then, how about me? Hao Ren immediately leaned over and asked. Su Han's face turned cold instantly. Get out. I am about to tutor Yujia with her cultivation. Hao Ren lowered his head in powerlessness, and he was pushed out of the door by a huge force pressing on his chest. Chapter 453. Elixir Master on Fifth Heaven. The 2 classes in the afternoon passed in the blink of an eye. Since the final exams were drawing near, the teachers would give them key points for the exams in the last few classes, and Hao Ren paid more attention to these classes. He could borrow Xie Yujia's notes for the courses he took with her. However, for the courses he didn't take with her, he had to consult her old notes which might cover different key points from those of his own exams. As to the courses he had selected with Zhao Jiayi and the others which Xie Yujia hadn't taken, he was on his own. Zhou Liren and others were no help at all since they had to rely on Hao Ren before they could get help from Xie Yujia. Despite skipping classes, Hao Ren had a sharp memory. After the morning classes, it was noon and lunchtime. Gongzi. Lu Lily's clear voice sounded outside of the academic building gate. Walking out of the building with Zhou Liren and the others, Hao Ren saw Lu Lily and then Lu Linlin a moment later. Pouting, Lu Linlin's long face indicated that she was probably still angry at Hao Ren for peeking at them in their room with spiritual senses. However, Lu Lily was warm to Hao Ren, thinking it was okay as long as it was Hao Ren. Zhou Liren and others saw the Lu sisters and their eyes lit up instantly. Lu Linlin looked cold, but Lu Lily was smiling and waving enthusiastically, showing 2 kinds of beauty. Ruff, ruff, Little White shot out from a nearby bush and trotted toward Hao Ren. Sister, don't be mad. I'm sure Gongzi didn't do it on purpose. Lu Lily pulled Lu Linlin toward Hao Ren. Seeing the Lu sisters coming over, Zhou Liren and others were dazed. Little White crawled up from Hao Ren's knee to his arms, and its wet paws left paw prints on his clothes. Gongzi. Lu Linlin walked to Hao Ren's side and greeted him sweetly. Well, how was your class today? Hao Ren asked them. Very good. We are in the final preparation stage for the exams, Lu Lily said sweetly. They were 1 year lower than Hao Ren and studied in the films program, and it was hard for them to meet Hao Ren on campus if they didn't come over to see him. Let's go. Lunch is on me, Hao Ren said. Great, thank you, Gongzi. Lu Lily smiled with pleasure, and her eyes curved up like pretty new moons. Glancing at Lu Lily, Lu Linlin silently lamented about her sister's lack of principles. However, looking at Hao Ren, she softened and allowed herself to be pulled toward the cafeteria with a pout. This is too much, too much. Following Hao Ren to the cafeteria, Zhou Liren silently cussed Hao Ren 100 times. Inviting beauties to eat in the cafeteria. Only Hao Ren can do such an ungentlemanly thing. However, Lu Lily had no objections, and she smiled with great pleasure. It's fate. Standing at 1.8 meters, Zhou Liren almost beat his chest for the unfairness of fate. The cafeteria was not crowded since most students had finished lunch quickly to grab seats in the library or study rooms for the preparation of the exams. Lu Linlin and Lu Lily chose a quiet place and took seats while Hao Ren went to buy food with his prepaid cafeteria card. Zhou Liren was burning with envy seeing the 2 super beauties waiting for Hao Ren to buy them food. Looking at Hao Ren's casual expression, Zhou Liren suspected that he had eaten many meals with the twin beauties. He seemed so careless while many guys in the school didn't even have the opportunity to get close to the girls, Zhou Liren thought. He didn't know that Lu Linlin and Lu Lily had spent several nights in Hao Ren's home. While Hao Ren carried 3 platters of food over, Zhou Liren, Zhao Jiayi, Jiyu Jiadong, and the others immediately took seats at the nearby table. It was a rare opportunity for them to look at the famous beauties of the school at such a close range. While their eyes were locked on the Lu sisters, they almost sent the stewed pork to their noses. At this moment, Xie Yujia and Su Han came into their sight with platters of food in their hands. Su Han. Hao Ren waved at her casually. Zhao Jiayi and others shrunk their necks subconsciously at Hao Ren's call. Hao Ren dared to call Su Han by her name, and he did it in the cafeteria. To their astonishment, Su Han's expression didn't change while she led Xie Yujia to Hao Ren's side and sat opposite him. At this sight, Zhao Jiayi and the others gaped so much that their jaws almost dropped. It was strange enough to see Xie Yujia and Su Han having lunch together, and more astonishing to see Su Han coming to Hao Ren's side at his beckoning and sitting down at his table. Instantly, they were stunned. They didn't know that Su Han could easily find Hao Ren's whereabouts on campus since both of them wore the inspector's tokens. Seeing four beauties eating lunch with Hao Ren, Ji Jiadong and the others almost shivered with shock. Zhou Liren was especially excited, and even his legs shook, wishing that he could be in Hao Ren's place. Yujia told me that you are doing well on Fifth Heaven, is that so? Su Han asked while eating her soup elegantly. Yeah. Zhen Kongming built an array formation, and I cut out some cave abodes. Hao Ren looked up at Su Han. Do you want to visit it? Can't go these days. Maybe later. Su Han glanced at him. In a few days, you must go to the Dragon God Shrine with me for formal registration. Okay, Hao Ren answered. In the inspector system, Su Han was his guide and senior. Now that he had become an official inspector, he could enter the interior of the Dragon God Shrine, the huge black building shaped like a square tower. Yujia. How was the lesson today? Hao Ren changed the subject and asked Xie Yujia. Ms. Su. Sister Su was very detailed with her teaching, and I probably can reach mid-tier foundation establishment realm in 1 month with the aid of elixirs, Xie Yujia said. She couldn't call Su Han Ms. Su, and she was too shy to call her by her full name. However, Sister Su sounded good. Why don't you teach me as well? Hao Ren complained. I don't have the energy to teach the two of you at the same time. Su Han rolled her eyes and stood up with her platter. I'm done, so I'll be going now. Su Han's dissatisfied expression sent shivers to Zhou Liren. He shivered not because of fear but of excitement. Even when Su Han rolls her eyes, she is still so alluring, he thought. After Hao Ren looked at Su Han and turned back his head, he suddenly noticed that all the guys in the cafeteria were looking his way, and some were even swarming over. Obviously, Su Han, who liked to be quiet, didn't appreciate to be watched like this. We'll go to Fifth Heaven later, and I'll help you arrange, Hao Ren said to Xie Yujia. Okay. Xie Yujia nodded slightly. Last night after Hao Ren acquired the secret technique about the 7-core 5-color lotus from the Sky Mountain sect on 6th Heaven, Xie Yujia spent the entire morning carefully studying this ancient script before they returned home and summarized several conditions for growing the 7-core 5-color lotus. Firstly, they must have 8 kinds of level 6 spiritual herbs to make the flower fertilizer. The so-called level 6 spiritual herbs were the best materials in nature for making elixir pills, and the 7-color snow lotuses Hao Ren took to save Zhao Kuo's life was one of them. Secondly, they needed 2 5-elemental cultivators with the same cultivation strengths, preferably top-tier nascent soul realm, to use their vital energy to and activate the nature essence in the lotus seeds. Thirdly, they needed a complicated array formation to collect the nature essence from nature and feed it to the seeds of the 7-core 5-color lotus. Fourthly, they needed fertilizer, or feces from spirit beasts, preferably snow lions. Fifthly and the most importantly, they must have the seeds of the 7-core 5-color lotus. All these conditions were extremely hard to achieve, and no wonder the 7-core 5-color lotuses had almost become extinct. For example, the first condition of getting 8 kinds of level 6 spiritual herbs to make the flower fertilizer was already though. In the whole world, there were only 10 kinds of the so-called level 6 spiritual herbs. The most astonishing discovery for Hao Ren was the miraculous effect of Little White's poop. However, on second thought, he understood the prosperity of the 7-color snow lotuses in the lion cave at the Sky Mountain on First Heaven. It was probably due to the poop of the snow lions. It seemed like the reason behind Sky Mountain sect's specialty in raising snow lions was to grow the spiritual herbs for making elixirs. After reading this rare technique, Hao Ren got a sudden understanding of it all. Ruff, ruff. Little White rubbed its head against Hao Ren's legs and barked. Hao Ren looked down at it and suddenly felt like this little creature was quite cute. He tossed a big pork rib at Little White, and it barked cheerfully and began gnawing at it while holding the bone with its 2 front paws. With help from the Lu sisters, Zhen Kongming, and Little White, all the conditions were not hard to meet, except for the first one. It was hard to collect 8 kinds of level 6 spiritual herbs. They had to feed the spiritual herbs with spiritual herbs. They could also feed Little White with elixir pills, and its high-quality fertilizer would grow many high-quality spiritual herbs which could be made into elixir pills. Then, they would collect more materials with these elixir pills. Half an hour later, Hao Ren and Xie Yujia came to the valley entrance of the ethereal summit. Hao Ren made a small wooden board, and he wrote on it with charcoal, seeking 10 10,000-year-old spiritual herbs for the price of 100 level 4 foundation establishment pills. He didn't know what effect this offer would create on Fifth Heaven. However, some cultivators had recently come to the entrance of the valley to ask for elixir pills, and soft-hearted Xie Yujia had tossed them some level 3 pills which she considered trash with Zhen Kongming's standard. In a small circle around the territory near the ethereal summit, The rumors were circulating about an elixir master on the nascent soul realm living in the Herb King Valley. That's it. Let's see what happens. Looking at the small wooden bulletin board which looked like a forum, Hao Ren dusted off his hands and said lightly. Okay. Xie Yujia looked at Hao Ren gently, finding that everything was a pleasure to her as long as she was with him. Then, Hao Ren looked at Xie Yujia and rubbed his hands. I'll make a trip to the Kunlun mountain. Huh? Xie Yujia was alarmed. I declined Su Han's offer because I don't want her to take risks for me, but her information is very important, and I plan to go myself, Hao Ren said with a smile. Chapter 454. Soul Formation Realm Master. This, Xie Yujia tensed up immediately. I'll just go there and have a look. Little White flies fast, and I'll be fine, Hao Ren said. Then, I'll go with you, Xie Yujia said after a moment of consideration. Rough. Little White jumped around Hao Ren's feet. Hao Ren hesitated for a few seconds. He told Xie Yujia his plan, so she would know where he was trapped if he couldn't make it back. However, he didn't plan to take her with him. If we are just there to take a look, I don't think anything will happen to us, Xie Yujia said. She was afraid that Hao Ren would venture deep into the Kunlun mountain and get into danger. If she went with him, she could stop him when necessary. Okay. Then, we should go now so that we can make it back early. Hao Ren clutched Little White's ears. Bam! Little White turned into a magnificent snow lion, and the golden fur on its 4 legs emitted radiant light. After Hao Ren and Xie Yujia got up on its back, Little White shot up with colorful light beneath its paws. Hao Ren and Su Han went to the Sky Mountain in the northwest to collect snow lotuses, and they had passed by the Kunlun mountain. Therefore, Hao Ren had a vague impression of Kunlun's general direction. They flew in the clouds on second heaven, and Hao Ren created an energy sphere to block the tiny raindrops. Sitting behind Hao Ren with her hands around Hao Ren's waist and her face against his back, Xie Yujia looked at the small and dense raindrops flying around them and felt somewhat melancholy. I live in Kunlun, and I see immortals. They left for the heaven, and I missed the opportunity to follow them. Thinking of this poem by Cao Cao, Xie Yujia tightened her arms subconsciously. Sitting before her while steering Little White, Hao Ren suddenly felt Xie Yujia's arms tighten around his waist. Thinking that she was cold, he pressed his hands on hers and injected some fire elemental nature essence into her body. This simple gesture showed Xie Yujia that Hao Ren did care for her. Secretly scolding herself for being too sensitive and melancholy, she dozed off on Hao Ren's wide back. She didn't sleep last night since she studied the rare technique for growing 7-core 5-color lotus. This is Kunlun, a restricted zone. Any trespasser will be killed. Suddenly, a loud shout startled Xie Yujia from her warm dream. Meanwhile, dozens of flying swords shot toward Hao Ren. Hao Ren was only at Gen level, which was a little above the core formation realm, so he didn't have a chance to explain himself. Not expecting that he would be attacked suddenly while he was only meters into Kunlun's territory, Hao Ren was alarmed and immediately released hundreds of sword energies, blocking the flying swords. As soon as his sword energies met these flying swords, he was able to tell that the people who attacked him were all at core formation realm. The flying swords retreated half a meter before attacking him again. Last time when Su Han passed this place, she released the aura of a top-tier Qian level cultivator. Sensing her aura and seeing her inspector's token, the patrolling human cultivators had no choice but to let her pass. However, Hao Ren, who tried to break into the Kunlun mountain, was only at Gen level. Therefore, they wouldn't let him pass. Forming an 8-trigram array formation, the flying swords swirled toward Hao Ren, intending to destroy him. 2 dragons array formation. Hao Ren's sword energies formed 2 light beams that were entangling with each other, and they rushed into the center of the 8-trigram before exploding and scattering the flying swords. Afraid that Hao Ren would lose in the fight with his rivals, Xie Yujia released a big silver note. The golden one was Life Note, and the silver one was Death Note. Nature 5 elemental life death notes. Suppressed by the huge note, which was at least 1 meter long, the cultivators who were hiding in the clouds screamed and tumbled down into the mountain. The life-death notes Xie Yujia got from old grandma had the power of nascent soul realm. Soon, dozens of more light beams shot toward Hao Ren. This is no good. Hao Ren only planned to have a look around the outer edge of Kunlun and didn't expect to be attacked the moment they stepped within the range of the mountain. If the situation continued, they would be in big trouble. He kicked lightly on Little White's belly. Knowing they needed to retreat, Little White emitted colorful light from its paws while it immediately ran out of Kunlun's range. Hit and run? Are you here to mess with us? A thunder-like voice sounded from the depth of Kunlun. In the air before Hao Ren, a huge pale silver palm suddenly appeared and scooped toward Little White. Wah! 320 sword energies stabbed into the vague palm and disappeared. Xie Yujia hurriedly launched a huge silver note, but it only created ripples when it hit the palm. Light-splitting sword shadow scroll, a weird technique to cultivate 5-element life death notes. From the depth of the mountain, that voice muttered while the palm in the sky crashed toward them like a huge mountain or a tsunami. The palm engulfed Little White while the fingertips caught Hao Ren and Xie Yujia. At this moment, the dozens of light beams finally reached Hao Ren's side and surrounded them. Now, Hao Ren found out that the patrolling cultivators were all young girls in green robes of almost the same age. They glared at Hao Ren and Xie Yujia while the longswords in their hands shook slightly as if they were going to kill these two despicable trespassers of Kunlun. The cultivators who had been struck down to the valley by Xie Yujia's attack flew up one by one and joined their team. They were also young girls wearing green robes. Snow Lion, the Sky Mountain sect. No, the young man has a dragon core in his body, and more strangely, he has 1,000-year cultivation strength stored in him. He's also an inspector from the Dragon God Shrine. It's not a good idea to kill him. That voice in the depth of the mountain was still murmuring to himself. In the grip of the vague palm, Hao Ren was panting but couldn't move a muscle. He looked at Xie Yujia and saw that she wasn't doing any better. Ha! The mark on this girl's left shoulder, the palm that was gripping them suddenly loosened a little, and the voice from the depth of the mountain turned serious. Girl, who is your master? My master, suddenly remembering that old grandma told her to give out her name when in danger, Xie Yujia said, my master is Qingfeng Hermit. Oh, the disciple of Qingfeng on First Heaven? I'll be in trouble if I mess with this crazy and overprotective old woman. The voice in the depth of the mountain muttered again. With the suppression on his body reduced, Hao Ren found the old eccentric man in the depth of the mountain was a rattlebox. Okay. I won't punish you two kids. But if you dare to trespass my Kunlun mountain in the future, I'll do more than a spanking. The huge palm suddenly opened, and it flicked its finger onto Little White's butt. With an ouch, Little White flew out more than 10 meters with a wronged expression and tears in its eyes, wondering why it got the spanking while it was Hao Ren who had tried to break into Kunlun Mountain. However, knowing they couldn't stay here any longer, Little White bore the acute pain in its rump and fled swiftly with colorful lights on its paws. Before they could rush out of the boundary of Kunlun Mountain, the huge palm suddenly caught up and blocked Little White. With 4 paws swimming frantically in the sky, Little White just couldn't get out. Why did you come to Kunlun? The voice in the depth of the mountain suddenly asked. We came to look for 7 core 5-color lotuses, Hao Ren said. The voice was silent for a few seconds. I don't have any 7 core 5-color lotus. The last one was given to the Dragon God Palace dozens of years ago. He continued, you are both in luck and out of luck since I just came out of seclusion this month. Girl, what do you want? I want, Xie Yujia thought for a while. 10,000-year-old black herb, 10,000-year-old green wood, 10,000-year-old iron essence flowers, 10,000-year-old soul grass, 10,000-year-old golden hammer, 10,000-year-old daphne, and 10,000 bronze drumskin. If you have 10,000-year-old 7-color snow lotus, it would be great. Well, I got a toothache. I wonder why old Qingfeng took such a greedy disciple. You want 8 out of 10 best elixir-making materials in the world. I have lots of female disciples but don't have many herbs. Okay, I'll give you 3 kinds. 3 boxes suddenly flew from the center of Kunlun. Sitting on Little White's back, Xie Yujia immediately caught them. When she opened the boxes, she saw 10 pieces of 10,000-year-old colorful snow lotuses, 3 pieces of 10,000-year-old green wood, and 5 blocks of 10,000-year-old daphne. Having some knowledge about spiritual herbs, Xie Yujia was happy to see these herbs. I hope these gifts will stop you from telling your master tales about my hurting you with my pinch. If you dare to venture into Kunlun in the future, I won't be so merciful. The pale silver palm turned into a gale which sent Little White flying for 1,000 meters. Little White tumbled several times while Hao Ren and Xie Yujia had to clutch tightly on its fur to stay on its back. When they looked back, there was no trace of Kunlun. The cultivator living in the depth of Kunlun Mountain was obviously a peer of old grandma and thus was someone Hao Ren and Xie Yujia couldn't mess with. However, he seemed to fear Xie Yujia's master. Otherwise, he could have kicked them out without giving Xie Yujia spiritual herbs on the condition that she wouldn't tell old grandma about this incident. Xie Yujia rubbed her shoulder. Despite the pain inflicted by the palm in the sky, she was pleased to receive 3 kinds of rare spiritual herbs. We got unexpected gifts, but we can't go to Kunlun anymore. Placing the 3 boxes into her bracelets, she said to Hao Ren with a smile. From her perspective, the final warning of the Soul Formation Realm cultivator was very harsh, and they shouldn't take such risks again. Hao Ren nodded. regretting that he had put Xie Yujia in danger by bringing her here. However, from this incident, he found his identity as an inspector of the dragon god shrine as quite useful. They were simple-minded and didn't know that the old eccentric soul formation realm cultivator in Kunlun spoke those last vicious words to prevent them from blackmailing him in the future after receiving gifts from him. The name of Qingfeng Hermit was quite notorious for her fierceness in the circle of soul formation realm cultivators. On the one hand, Qingfeng Hermit's life-death notes were powerful, and any sane cultivators of soul formation realm didn't dare to fight her head-on. On the other hand, Qingfeng was known for her overprotectiveness of her disciples, and anyone that messed with her disciples would receive great retaliation. Let's head back. Hao Ren lightly rubbed Xie Yujia's sore shoulder and steered Little White toward the direction of East Ocean. Chapter 455. Third Uncle, this is called youth. Upon returning to East Ocean University, Hao Ren left Little White with Xie Yujia and went to Zhao Yanzi's place on his own. Zhao Yanzi was indeed a little spoiled, but Hao Ren was still worried about her schoolwork. After all, she needed to have good grades at her age in order to live a normal mortal life. It looked like Zhao Hongyu and Zhao Guang didn't plan on keeping her in the Dragon Palace. On the other hand, they wished to let her grow up on land. Zhao Yanzi didn't enjoy staying at the boring Dragon Palace anyways, and she had always considered herself a mid-schooler. Hao Ren arrived at the stop after half an hour on the bumpy bus. Then, he walked to Zhao Yanzi's door. A few vines climbed up on the iron gate with fresh green leaves, and there was a layer of dark green moss over the wetland. Summer is really coming. Hao Ren pushed open the iron gate and knocked on Zhao Yanzi's home's door. You are here, Ren. Zhao Hongyu opened the door with a bright smile. Auntie, Hao Ren smiled cheerfully, and he carried his bag into Zhao Yanzi's house. Humph. Zhao Yanzi pouted in the living room when she saw Hao Ren coming in. Zhao Guang was busy as usual in the study room, flipping through documents. Premier Shah was in his Hawaiian t-shirt, and he stood beside Zhao Guang's desk in the study room, reporting some matters. Zhao Kuo had his arms crossed in front of his chest, and he sat on the couch with a stern face, watching a TV show. Time for dinner. Zhao Hongyu shouted as she walked out of the kitchen with dishes in her hands. Zhao Yanzi quickly ran over since she was starving. Hao Ren saw Zhao Guang coming out of the study room, so he went over to the dinner table and sat beside Zhao Yanzi. Zhao Kuo turned off the TV and sat down opposite to Hao Ren, and his serious look pressured Hao Ren. Zhao Guang walked beside the dinner table calmly and sat in his usual seat. Premier Shah walked out of the study room with his back hunched. He didn't know if he should stay or leave since the Dragon King's family was having dinner together. Come and eat with us, Premier Shah, Zhao Hongyu said. How could I? Premier Shah immediately shook his head. He had been the premier of the Dragon Palace for hundreds of years, so he knew exactly the difference between him and the king's family. Come and join us, Zhao Guang said calmly. Premier Shah slowly walked over at Zhao Guang's command. After picking the furthest seat, he sat himself down. Would you like some rice or noodles? Zhao Hongyu asked. I shouldn't, Premier Shah waved immediately. It was a great honor to sit with the Dragon King. How could he imagine dining with them? Forget about all the rules now that we are on land, Premier. I think you should have some noodles, Zhao Guang said to Premier Shah. Yes, my lord, Premier Shah nodded with reverence and awe. Zhao Hongyu got a bowl of noodles for him, but Premier Shah was too shocked to take the bowl when he saw Zhao Hongyu handing him the noodles herself. Okay, let's eat. Zhao Guang waved. Zhao Yanzi picked up a piece of pork rib with her chopsticks. Then, she put it in Premier Shah's noodles. Premier, have some ribs. Thank you, Princess. Premier Shah was too touched to talk. Have some more, Ren, Zhao Hongyu said to Hao Ren. Hao Ren nodded. Zhao Kuo was busy eating the big bowl of rice. Hao Ren thought to himself, although this is the family of the Dragon King of the East Ocean Dragon Clan, they are still lovely and intimate. Why are you crying, Premier Shah? Zhao Yanzi asked all of a sudden. Hao Ren turned over and found Premier Shah crying ceaselessly with the bowl of noodles in his hands. What's the matter, Premier? Zhao Hongyu asked. Premier Shah put the bowl on the table and wiped the tears off. The old Dragon King helped me to cultivation, and your majesty thinks highly of me. I will do whatever it takes to serve you. I wouldn't say a word if I need to go through fire and blades for you. Why are you saying this suddenly? Zhao Hongyu looked at Premier Xie and said, come on land whenever you have time. Also, don't always wear Lu Qing's outfits. Ask him to take you shopping for some suitable clothes. Thank you, Dragon Queen. Premier Shah wiped the tears off the corner of his eyes. He was too moved to say a word. Zhao Yanzi put the bowl of noodles in Premier Shah's hand. She seemed to be spoiled, but she had a kind heart. She didn't remember much, but she knew that Premier Shah watched her grow up. Premier Shah wasn't able to say anything at this moment. Enjoy your noodles. You might need to come over to report to me in the future, so you will have to stay for dinner a lot, Zhao Guang said. Premier Shah nodded, and he finally suppressed his emotions and started eating the noodles. Zhao Horan used to trust him a lot, but the old Dragon King was never this kind to Premier Shah. After having served 2 generations of Dragon Kings, Premier Shah was very grateful. Hao Ren smiled as he thought to himself, Zhao Horan, at the peak Qian level, convinced people with his strength, but Zhao Guang won people by virtue. They each had their advantages. Hao Ren wouldn't have survived a day if Zhao Horan knew Zhao Yanzi lost her dragon core to Hao Ren. However, if Zhao Horan oversaw the East Ocean Dragon Palace, the West Ocean Dragon clan wouldn't have been so aggressive. Ren, Zhao Guang looked up and said, Zhao Kuo said that he would try his best to teach you for a while in order to thank you for the 7-core 5-color lotus. Hao Ren stopped moving his chopsticks and looked at Zhao Kuo. Zhao Kuo snorted as he bit a piece of pork rib and carried on eating. Zhao Guang continued as he looked at Hao Ren, don't doubt it. Zhao Kuo mentioned it himself. He will teach you for a month and leave to cultivate afterward. Is third uncle still leaving? Hao Ren thought as he looked at Zhao Kuo in surprise. Although Zhao Kuo was only at Dewey level, he used to be a peak Qian level master. He was only 1 step away from the heavenly dragon realm. Most importantly, Zhao Kuo was cultivating the light-splitting sword shadow scroll as well, and he must have a more profound understanding of it. Since he reached Dewey level in such a short time, he must have transferred all his previous cultivation experience into this technique. If he could devote his heart to teaching Hao Ren could cultivate more smoothly and make a huge improvement. For lower-level cultivators, the instruction of a higher-level cultivator was way more valuable than any elixir pills or techniques. However, most higher-level cultivators would be busy cultivating and wouldn't have the time to tutor a lower-level cultivator. This was a first for Zhao Kuo to give up an entire month to instruct Hao Ren. I will also teach Z, Zhao Kuo said abruptly. Thank you, third uncle. Zhao Yanzi cried out immediately. She wasn't fond of cultivating in the past, so she skipped it whenever Zhao Kuo offered to teach her. But after entering 5th heaven, she felt the pressure when Xie Yujia reached the foundation establishment realm. She needed some guidance from a master. Zhao Kuo was a peak Qian level master, and the cultivation of human and dragons were essentially the same. Therefore, it was indeed easy for Zhao Kuo to instruct Zhao Yanzi on cultivation. Zhao Hongyu was surprised to see Zhao Yanzi's sudden eagerness in cultivation. Hao Ren wondered to himself, Su Han is tutoring Xie Yujia, and Zhao Kuo will be tutoring Zhao Yanzi. Who knows which one of them will improve faster? After dinner, Premier Shah opened his umbrella as he was about to head back to the Dragon Palace. Zhao Yanzi waved to him at the door and said, Come here for dinner again, Premier Shah. Yes, Premier Shah kept nodding. He thanked Zhao Guang and Zhao Hongyu again before he walked onto the road under the umbrella. Premier Shah slowly walked away, hunchbacked. He had always abided by the rules. Therefore, in weather like this, he would never fly into the sky. Go ahead with tutoring, you guys, Zhao Hongyu said to Hao Ren and Zhao Yanzi. Oh, Zhao Yanzi turned to her room, pouting. Hao Ren grabbed the tutoring material from the living room and followed Zhao Yanzi upstairs. Zhao Yanzi was in her pajamas and slippers, and she looked very lively as she hopped upstairs. Her long black hair fluttered loosely on her back. As she wobbled, her hair gave out a hint of a pleasant scent. Hao Ren followed her closely into her room. The room was a bit messy, but compared to the slight drizzle outside, the room had a warm, refreshing smell. A hand suddenly appeared between the door and the doorframe when Hao Ren was about to close the door. Zhao Kuo pushed the door open and entered the room. Zhao Yanzi looked at him, confused. I'm just here to check, Zhao Kuo smiled with his mouth open. You don't know any of these anyways, third uncle, Zhao Yanzi pouted. Just checking. Zhao Kuo sat himself down in a little chair despite Zhao Yanzi's complaints. Let's begin. Hao Ren moved a chair to the desk and took the paper out of his bag. Zhao Yanzi dragged over her swivel chair, and she pulled her feet up and sat in it with her legs crossed. Then, she took out some scratch paper and a pen and started working on the mock exam Hao Ren prepared for her. Her pajama was a bit loose. She rested her head on one hand and wrote the exam with the other. Her smooth white neck appeared under her collar. Ahem. Zhao Kuo coughed twice by the window. Hao Ren looked at him before turning back at Zhao Yanzi's paper. Rain dripped off the eaves of the house. Zhao Yanzi read the question carefully, and she pouted, bit her lips, and frowned from time to time. Her facial expression was very interesting. Here, all done. Zhao Yanzi pondered for a bit at the last question. Then, she wrote, "Don't know how," on the paper before she handed the paper to Hao Ren. Hao Ren took the paper and read through it carefully. Their tutoring sessions had been pretty effective lately. Zhao Yanzi was able to finish 70% to 80% of the questions that she didn't know how to solve before. She could even use her own ways to answer some of the questions. Zhao Kuo's hip was a little sore from sitting. Therefore, he stood up and came over to take a look. He was glad to see Hao Ren's checkmarks on most of the questions. As an uncle, he had no idea what these middle schoolers' school work was about. However, it didn't stop him from caring about Z's grades. "You made a mistake on this one. This is what you should have done." Hao Ren pointed at the first mistake she made and started showing her the right answer. Zhao Yanzi moved her chair closer to Hao Ren. She rested her arms and upper body on the desk and listened carefully. Hao Ren picked up the pen and said, "And this one? Let me show you how to solve it." Zhao Yanzi moved a bit closer, and her head was almost on Hao Ren's shoulder. "See, this is a linear equation here," Hao Ren wrote quickly on the scrap paper. Zhao Yanzi pouted her little mouth. The two chairs had already become one, and half of Zhao Yanzi's body was already right in front of Hao Ren. She laid comfortably in Hao Ren's arms with her head right under his chin, and she looked closely at Hao Ren's problem-solving procedures. Ahem. Zhao Kuo couldn't help but cough twice. Zhao Yanzi looked up at Zhao Kuo and complained, "We are working on a question, third uncle. See here, you need to use factorization." Hao Ren was very focused. Zhao Yanzi nodded immediately. Her hair touched Hao Ren's chin, and she decided to ignore Zhao Kuo completely. Although she was still sitting on her own chair, her body was completely snug in Hao Ren's arms like a mermaid. She didn't mean to take advantage of him, it was just really comfortable to be in Hao Ren's arms. Zhao Kuo's eyes opened wide. He didn't think it was a good idea to leave Hao Ren and Zhao Yanzi alone in the room, so he came to check on them, but Hao Ren was. "So, x equals 12, and y equals 6. Then, we have the answer." Hao Ren held onto Zhao Yanzi's shoulders and said. "Oh, I see." Zhao Yanzi looked like she understood it as she laid in Hao Ren's arms. Zhao Kuo shouted. "Quiet, third uncle. I am trying to think." Zhao Yanzi rested her chin on her palms as she stared at Hao Ren's solution. "Stop yelling, Zhao Kuo." Zhao Hongyu suddenly appeared at the door. "No, but..." Zhao Kuo didn't know what to say. He pointed at Hao Ren and Zhao Yanzi who were sitting together by the desk. "Come out and stop interfering." Zhao Hongyu rolled her eyes at him. But, Zhao Kuo walked out in surprise. "Get some rest after tutoring, Z. And don't play any games," Zhao Hongyu said to Zhao Yanzi before she closed the door behind her. "I know, Mom." Zhao Yanzi leaned back, sticking her little round head on Hao Ren's chest. She stared at the paper and asked, "And the next question?" Chapter 456. I don't need your company. After going through the paper, Hao Ren's legs were a little sore from Zhao Yanzi's weight. But since she was very soft, Hao Ren felt like he was holding a large cat in his arms. Therefore, Hao Ren didn't feel uncomfortable at all. "Anything else you don't understand?" Hao Ren turned to her and asked. Zhao Yanzi was at the age when she had the best skin. There was no flaw on her face whatsoever, and she was as smooth as a porcelain doll. "No," she shrugged at Hao Ren's stare, and her shoulder accidentally hit Hao Ren's chin, making him almost biting his tongue. Zhao Yanzi placed her hands on the table like a nimble little kitten. Then, she hopped from Hao Ren's chair into her own chair. The spot where she laid on was still warm, and Hao Ren took another look at Zhao Yanzi and felt like she really looked like a cat that he couldn't even catch. If she likes you, she will stick around for a bit. If she doesn't, you wouldn't even be able to touch her, Hao Ren thought. Hao Ren looked at her smooth neck underneath her hair and asked, "You have been well behaved lately and have been focusing on your studies. You haven't gone out with Ling?" "She has a boyfriend now," Zhao Yanzi answered absent-mindedly as she noted down the answers Hao Ren just gave her. "Where is he from?" Hao Ren asked casually. "Lu Yuntao, from class 3. He is very good at basketball." Zhao Yanzi tilted her head as she wrote the answers down. "Watch your posture." Hao Ren reached out and straightened her up. Annoyed, Zhao Yanzi rolled her eyes at Hao Ren. Then, she bit the tip of the pen while she recalled the procedure Hao Ren wrote down for the questions and rewrote them on her own paper. Hao Ren sat beside her, and he felt like she looked like a regular middle schooler to him no matter what. "Have there been any love letters from boys in your school lately?" Hao Ren continued to ask. "Who dares? They all know that I have a boyfriend now." Zhao Yanzi scanned the paper with her black gem-like eyes and said casually. She suddenly looked up at Hao Ren and said, "Don't get any wrong ideas." Ah! Hao Ren was stupefied, thinking, I didn't get any ideas. Sun Yi from class 6 is quite cute, and he is the captain of the soccer team. Zhao Yanzi stuck out her little tongue as she said. I used to be on the soccer team too, said Hao Ren. Really? Zhao Yanzi raised her eyebrows. Yeah, I was the goalkeeper, nodded Hao Ren. Peeved, Zhao Yanzi snorted and said, Xie Zhaofeng from the high school department comes to school on his motorcycle every day. There are a lot of middle school girls who like him. Zhao Yanzi kept on telling Hao Ren about the gossips at school. Maybe it was because Ling got a boyfriend and there wasn't anyone else to chat with. Zhao Yanzi just poured it all on Hao Ren. Hao Ren listened to her as she went on and on. She was indeed a little girl in middle school. However, Hao Ren's characteristic and personality didn't suggest to people that he was someone a mid-schooler would like. Xie Zhaofeng invited me to karaoke this weekend, Zhao Yanzi continued. You can't go. Hao Ren shouted out without thinking. Zhao Yanzi turned to him. Why not? Because, Hao Ren didn't know what to say. It's great to relax after the exams. Ling needs to go shopping with her boyfriend, and I don't want to be the third wheel, Zhao Yanzi said. I'll go with you if you want to go karaoke, Hao Ren said. I don't need your company, Zhao Yanzi sniffed, you are an uncle. Hao Ren pointed at himself as he was at a loss for words. I am going to sleep now, so you should head back. Zhao Yanzi pushed Hao Ren's chair. She put the paper in her backpack. She probably would work more on it during school the day after. Zhao Yanzi walked to her bed, whipped her slippers off, and slid under the blanket. Hao Ren sighed and opened the door to her balcony. Shoo! He headed toward the East Ocean University on his sword energy. Xie Yujia was studying in Academic Building D, so Hao Ren went straight to see her when he returned to school. He needed to tutor Zhao Yanzi since her finals were coming up. However, his own finals were also coming up, so he needed some tutoring from Xie Yujia. Hao Zonghua and Yu Yang never asked a lot for him, but their bottom line was that he needed to pass all his courses. Hao Ren had to study hard since he didn't want to get scolded by his parents. This was the same case with Zhao Yanzi. Gongzi, Lu Linlin and Lu Lili appeared as soon as Hao Ren stepped into the classroom. They had thick books and notes in their hands. Apparently, they were here to review for their exams as well. Little White wiggled its tail as it ran in front of the twins. After Hao Ren stopped controlling it, Little White had gotten very familiar with all the buildings in East Ocean University. Sometimes, it went to the postgraduate dorm to see the Lu sisters. Sometimes, it went to the dorm buildings in the south to find Xie Yujia. And sometimes, it went to the front of the library to get food from the students. Most girls were familiar with this puppy that ran around the campus now, and they would always keep some food in their bags in case they ran into Little White. The school's gardener had been quite busy lately because some of the bushes had been growing like crazy. He even wondered if these bushes were mutated. Since it was close to finals, the study rooms were crowded. Xie Yujia saved a seat for Hao Ren, but there weren't any empty seats left for Lu Linlin and Lu Lili. Let's go somewhere else, Hao Ren said. Where? Xie Yujia looked up. Hao Ren smiled. Half an hour later, the four of them arrived at the ethereal summit on Fifth Heaven. Little White went into its doghouse to enjoy the comfortableness of its personal cave. Xie Yujia went to the entrance of the valley, and she noticed that the three sects already left their names on the wooden bulletin board that Hao Ren made. It meant that the three sects had taken up the mission. 100 level 4 foundation establishment pills was a tremendous reward. Although level 6 spiritual herbs were very precious, it was useless in the hands of cultivators who didn't know to make elixirs. Foundation establishment pills, on the other hand, could increase the chances for Qi refinement realm cultivators to get to the foundation establishment realm. Also, 100 level 4 foundation establishment pills would take a large sect on Fifth Heaven years to make, so this enticed all the three small sects around the valley to look for level 6 spirit herbs. Xie Yujia admired Hao Ren for coming up with this mission method herb collection. She used to think that it was going to be hard to collect level 6 spiritual herbs. However, it seemed like as long as she could make enough good quality elixir pills, she could have all the cultivators on Fifth Heaven working for them. Hao Ren is pretty smart, Xie Yujia thought to herself cheerfully. She went back to her cave abode and saw the 16 goose egg-sized night pearls Hao Ren and the Lu sisters placed on the roof, lighting up the interior. Put another curtain here. Hao Ren nailed a piece of blue cloth at her cave entrance. Zhao Yanzi got the robes from Fifth Heaven cultivators' storage bags, and Hao Ren ripped them open and modified them into curtains. Hao Ren put the stone table in the middle and laid 4 chairs around it. Then, a quiet and cozy study room had been created. Hao Ren renovated the cave into their own little study room, and Xie Yujia looked down and laughed, thinking, although Hao Ren seems clumsy, he is quite good at setting the mood. I asked Ma Lina to make copies of the study materials for Zhao Jiayi and the guys. This copy is for you, and I have highlighted all the key points while I was waiting for you. Xie Yujia took thick copies of study materials from her bag and put them on the stone table. Hao Ren flipped it open and saw highlighted parts right in the pages. His copy was the advanced version made by Xie Yujia, while the copy Zhao Jiayi and the guys fought over was the original version. Also, Xie Yujia was studying with him, so she could answer his questions whenever he ran into one. Lu Linlin and Lu Lili were a bit jealous when they saw how well prepared Xie Yujia was. They regretted listening to Lu Qing and entering the films program, which was less stressful. If they were in the same program as Hao Ren, they could take advantage of the same material. Linlin and Lily, you guys can ask Yujia or me if you have any questions too, Hao Ren said to them. Thank you, Gongzi. They both nodded. Lu Linlin wasn't a petty girl. She realized that Hao Ren didn't try to spy on them with his sword energies on purpose. Therefore, she wasn't upset about it anymore. Hao Ren, on the other hand, felt sorry about it, so he decided to bring them along for this final review session. Lu Linlin and Lu Lili adored this ordinary life. They felt closer to Hao Ren as they acted more like mortals. In the Lu sisters' opinion, Hao Ren was more shy than dumb. Hao Ren knew about everything they had done, and they considered him cute for that. In the meantime, a young girl sat on a hay-covered stone bed in her light yellow silk dress. She was in the back mountain of the Sky Mountain sect on 6th heaven, and she kept poking the two scarecrows in her hand with a small knife. Pervert. B***tch. I will cut you up when I get out of here. She gritted her pearl-white teeth as she poked. How dare you take my jade away? How dare you take my jade away? There was a layer of white light over her cave entrance. It was the array formation of the Sky Mountain sect, Tiangang lightning array formation. She would get shocked as soon as she laid her finger on it, let alone getting through it. At this time, Zhao Yanzi had the beautiful and smooth jade from Duan Yao around her neck. She was in a deep sleep, and she didn't know that it was a pair of jades, and Duan Yao could locate her with the one she had left. Chapter 457. Zhao Yanzi is mine. In the next few days, Zhao Yanzi, Hao Ren, Xie Yujia, and the Lu sister were all busy studying. The relaxing university life suddenly became intense. Hao Ren made sure to attend the review classes for each course during the last week of school. Then, he would head to Zhao Yanzi's house in the afternoon for her tutoring session. In the evening, he would go up to 5th heaven to go through all the key concepts with Xie Yujia as well as help the twins with their university English. Xie Yujia would also find time to get some instructions from Su Han in her office. Her grades were excellent, so she wasn't worried about the exams at all. The cultivation instructions Su Han gave, on the other hand, was more important to her. The only thing that brought some joy to the pre-exam cramming atmosphere was the appearance of Su Han. Su Han. Su Han is here, the guys on the sidewalk shouted. Su Han ignored them with a folder under her arm. Her high heels made a series of sharp sounds as she walked to an academic building from the administrative building. Her slim legs were luring under her light brown fallbala skirt, and her thin, light blue shirt emphasized her mature body. The buttons seemed to be having a hard time locking her strong aura inside. The beauty pills Xie Yujia gave to her worked very well. Although cultivation could empower her body to a certain degree, Su Han had a bad diet since she didn't know how to cook and was too lazy to eat out. The beauty pills not only kept her face beautiful but also improved her body. No wonder it was the holy elixirs for female cultivators. Su Han walked into the academic building under the guy's glowing stare. Then, she stepped up the stairs and walked into the classroom. The guys in the class all gasped deeply. Su Han seemed even more beautiful after a week. This is the last review class. Su Han scanned everyone with her cold eyes as she put her folder on the podium. What do I do? What do I do? Zhou Liren squeezed by and held onto Hao Ren's arm. He was almost crying. I can't see Su Han anymore. This was her last class of the course, weak optical signal processing, and some guys came to the classroom to grab a seat 4 hours before the class started. Zhou Liren was Su Han's hardcore fan, yet he only got a middle row seat. Hao Ren looked up at Su Han and found her more charming than before. Her skin got smoother and her eyes got brighter. Su Han was already exceptionally beautiful, but she was even more gorgeous than before. No wonder she took the guy's breaths away. There is a lot of content, so we will skip the break, Su Han said coldly as she opened up her materials. First of all, the photoelectric detector. The guys didn't want to miss a minute of watching Su Han, so they had no problem with skipping the break. Zhou Liren sat beside Hao Ren with his arm around Hao Ren's arm. He stared at Su Han as if her beauty intoxicated him, and he held Hao Ren's arm tightly as if it was Su Han's arm. It made Hao Ren feel disgusted, so he took his arm back immediately. 2 hours passed quickly. Su Han closed her folder up and said, "That is the end of this semester." She fixed some loose hair behind her ear and looked around the classroom with her clear yet cold eyes. This charming yet straightforward move stunned all the guys. When everyone was waiting for her to wish them good luck on the exam, she said lightly, "Come with me, Hao Ren." Tick, tock, everyone could hear the clock ticking. Oh, Hao Ren stood up and walked around the desks to the door. Su Han and Hao Ren walked out of the classroom side by side. Damn, the guys growled in the classroom. Xie Yujia, who was sitting in the last row, smiled. If she wanted to make all males go crazy over her, she needed to reach Qian level just like Su Han. What's the matter? Hao Ren asked Su Han when they exited the classroom. Although Su Han was beautiful, Hao Ren could control himself better since he was a Gen-level cultivator after all. However, anyone would get nervous when they were this close to Su Han. "You went to Kunlun?" Su Han asked as she headed for the stairs. Hao Ren looked at her timidly and asked, "Why are you suddenly asking about this?" Su Han glimpsed at Hao Ren with her beautiful eyes and said, "A soul formation realm cultivator appeared in the Dragon God Shrine yesterday and injured a dozen inspectors. He said announced that no inspector is allowed to run into Kunlun ever again." Hao Ren's heart sank after hearing about this. That soul formation realm cultivator must have been pissed when an inspector ran into his territory after he came out of seclusion cultivation. Most importantly, Xie Yujia injured a dozen of his patrolling disciples. Since he couldn't do anything to Xie Yujia, he decided to get back at the Dragon God Shrine. As a soul formation realm cultivator, he could do whatever he wanted. This cultivator from Kunlun had a blast at the Dragon God Shrine since he was in a bad mood. Su Han walked down the stairs. She wasn't wearing any stocking, but her legs looked even prettier than the girls with stockings. Her jade-like skin made people wonder if she was carved out of jade. "The Dragon God Shrine wants to look into this issue, so I wondered if you have gone to Kunlun," Su Han continued. "Me? Why would I do that?" Hao Ren said immediately. He looked so serious that it seemed like he was genuinely mad at that inspector as well. Su Han reached the turning point of the stair. She tiptoed and turned to Hao Ren. "Stop pretending. I know it was you." Hao Ren was at a loss for words. His acting skills weren't good enough to fool Su Han. "You are pretty bold to barge into the Kunlun mountain." Su Han continued walking down the stairs. "I was kicked out before I got in," Hao Ren answered. "The Dragon God Shrine has an agreement with the Kunlun mountain. Regular dragon cultivators are not allowed near the Kunlun mountain. Those who go in without permission will be killed immediately. The inspectors can pass by Kunlun in case of an emergency. However, they must stay on First Heaven when they pass. In the meantime, cultivators from Kunlun cannot leave the mountain randomly and couldn't kill inspectors," Su Han said. "The manual didn't mention that," Hao Ren said. "The Dragon God Shrine won't mention Kunlun in public, but inspectors are not allowed near that area. You are just a Gen-level cultivator, and you barged into Kunlun as an inspector. No wonder that Soul Formation Realm cultivator got so mad and put so much pressure on the Dragon God Shrine," Su Han said lightly as she exited the academic building. Hao Ren thought, there is more to it, he must be furious since Xie Yujia also took 3 kinds of spiritual herbs from him. All the students looked over when Hao Ren and Su Han exited the academic building together. Hao Ren, the popular character, was very close with Su Han, and the entire school had been gossiping about it. Some people admired him, and some people were jealous of him. However, Huang Zuji was the only one who showed up to teach Hao Ren a lesson. Some younger male professors united and tried to punish Hao Ren, but they cancelled their plan when they learned that Hao Zonghua was Hao Ren's father. "I will pretend that I don't know anything about you going to Kunlun. But in the future," Su Han turned to Hao Ren and said, "Take me with you." "Okay." Hao Ren agreed, confused. Su Han looked very cold, but she covered for Hao Ren on a lot of things. She wasn't a timid person, and she had some interest in Kunlun as well. However, she was more interested in the 9-Dragon Palace in comparison. Hao Ren promised to go there with her, and she never forgot about that painful strike from Chu Niu. "That's all. You can go now." Su Han waved casually and headed toward the administrative building. Hao Ren stood at the door, watching Su Han as she walked away. He realized that it was tough to figure out what this beautiful woman was thinking about. "She's gone, and you are still looking." Zhao Jiayi suddenly wrapped his arm around Hao Ren's neck from the behind. Zhao Jiayi was quite jealous of Hao Ren as well. Hao Ren seemed to be an ordinary guy, yet many pretty girls were suddenly fond of him. Did all his luck suddenly arrive? Zhao Jiayi thought. Hao Ren removed Zhao Jiayi's thick arm and said, "Are you going to be okay on the exams?" "Not a problem. I made a copy of Xie Yujia's notes." Zhao Jiayi pressed on Hao Ren's back like a rock. Hao Ren grabbed Zhao Jiayi's right hand and threw him over his shoulder. Zhao Jiayi landed steadily and hit Hao Ren's chest hard. "The championship is on the 20th in Yanjing. You should come and watch." Okay. Hao Ren was going for sure. Even if he became a Qian-level master in the future, he wouldn't forget a good buddy like Zhao Jiayi. "I will pull an all-nighter with you guys tonight." Hao Ren missed the times when they studied together in the dorm. "Finally being a human, eh?" Zhao Jiayi knocked on Hao Ren's shoulder. Hao Ren's finals will take place in the following week. The East Ocean University allowed students to pick their own elective courses. Therefore, all the public courses exams were spread throughout the exam days. Therefore, most students had exams for 5 to 6 days. Comparing to their arrangement, Zhao Yanzi's grade 8 exams were much simpler. Maths, history, physics, Chinese, English, politics, biology, geography, and chemistry would take place one after another on Thursday and Friday, and she would be done after that. After an entire day of exams, Zhao Yanzi exhaled deeply after her teacher took her chemistry exam paper away. Then, she put her pencil box in her bag. She wanted to talk to Ling about some of the questions, but Ling already ran to class 3, next door, to see her boyfriend. "Inhumane," Zhao Yanzi murmured. She picked up her backpack and walked to the school gate. Vroom. Vroom. A silver motorcycle passed by Zhao Yanzi and blocked her way all of a sudden. The driver took off his helmet and smiled handsomely. He pointed the backseat with his thumb and said, "Hop on." Whoa, the surrounding girls couldn't help but exclaim. Xie Zhaofeng, the handsome high schooler, was after Zhao Yanzi. Shoo! A vehicle suddenly stopped outside of Ling Zhao Middle School. Beep. Beep. Hao Ren sat in the convertible Ferrari in the black and white shirt that he specifically picked out. He glimpsed at Zhao Yanzi and pointed at the passenger seat, "Get in." Chapter 458. A Tough Girl. Just when Zhao Yanzi was about to go around the silver motorcycle in annoyance, she saw Hao Ren. Like a little bird that suddenly became happy, she was overwhelmed with joy. She swung on her backpack and ran out the gates. Then, she opened the door of the Ferrari and sat down. The high school student on the motorcycle was shocked. His improved Yamaha motorcycle was worth tens of thousands of yuan, and it was something he could use to show off at the school. However, it was nothing compared to a Ferrari. This high school student tried to maintain his cool composure on the motorcycle, but he could only quietly watch Zhao Yanzi fly into the Ferrari like a little bird. Every student at the gate, regardless of their grades, witnessed how Hao Ren picked up Zhao Yanzi in a Ferrari. That's Zhao Yanzi's boyfriend. How rich, a spoiled second-generation rich kid, but he's actually pretty handsome. It's my first time seeing this. I heard that they kissed in front of the academic building. Your news sources are so old. He already came to our school many times. I heard he goes to City North First High School. Gossips quickly spread at the school's front gate. As the engine of the car roared, Hao Ren started the Ferrari and drove away. Zhao Yanzi looked as happy as a blooming flower. She hugged her backpack and leaned against the car seat. "How were your exams?" Hao Ren asked her. "They went okay," Zhao Yanzi responded lazily. Since she finished all her exams, she didn't want to think about it anymore. Zhao Yanzi was that type of person. The origin of this chapter's debut can be traced to N0V3LB1N. She closed her eyes and relaxed as the wind blew against her face. She tightened her legs and raised her arms high to stretch. "Hey." Zhao Yanzi suddenly opened her closed eyes and turned to ask Hao Ren, "Why did you suddenly come to pick me up?" "Your mom told me to pick you up," Hao Ren answered. Zhao Yanzi suddenly pouted and looked extremely unhappy. "I'm just joking." Hao Ren looked at her expression and couldn't help but laugh. "I'm picking you up because I want to." Zhao Yanzi looked over with her peripheral vision as she doubted his words. Ring, 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 her phone in her bag suddenly rang, and she put her hand in her bag to pick it up. "Mom. Where are you? I don't see you at the front gate," Zhao Hongyu said through the phone. "Mom. Uncle, Hao Ren already picked me up," Zhao Yanzi responded. "Oh, I was wondering why you disappeared. I thought you went to karaoke with your classmates again. Then, I'm just going to go home. Ask Ren to come over for dinner tonight." Zhao Hongyu sighed and hung up. She knew that Zhao Yanzi finished her exams today, so she came to pick her up from school. She never thought that Hao Ren would be one step ahead of her. Zhao Yanzi put her phone back in her bag. Then, she turned to Hao Ren and finally believed that he came to pick her up at his own will. Hao Ren not only washed his car, but he also cleaned himself up nicely. He was wearing a black and white shirt, which made him look very classy, and his clean hair that was a little messy looked shiny. There was one word that could be used to describe Hao Ren today, and that was handsome. At Zhao Yanzi's age, it was only natural for her to be a little vain. She was delighted when Hao Ren dressed up and drove the Ferrari to pick her up. She didn't care if Hao Ren caused an uproar when he appeared. Exams were now over, and summer had started. No one would remember this 2 months later. "Where should we go?" Hao Ren asked her while driving. "Let's play games," Zhao Yanzi said as her eyes lighting up. She knew that Hao Ren had his university exams next week, but playing was definitely more important for her right now. Okay. Hao Ren knew what games Zhao Yanzi was talking about. He lightened pressed his foot on the gas pedal, and the Ferrari drove toward the city center. Hao Ren parked on the road across the Friendship Business Building, and the two getting off the car and walking towards the building attracted much attention. The Ferrari was very eye-catching. Also, Zhao Yanzi was wearing a school uniform and backpack, so it naturally attracted attention as well. Her light blue school uniform fluttered a little in the wind, and the tag that said, Grade 8, Class 2-2, Zhao Yanzi, was on her chest. The guys who were about Hao Ren's age were very jealous of him because he was with such a young and energetic girl. Such an animal, they glared at Hao Ren and cussed on the inside. "Let's go. Let's go." Zhao Yanzi was looking to relax after her exams, so she pulled Hao Ren toward the basement of the Friendship Business Building. Since it was Friday evening, there were quite a lot of young people at the arcade park at the Friendship Business Building. Zhao Yanzi pulled Hao Ren into the building and quickly took off her name tag before throwing it in her bag. However, the design of her school uniform exposed her identity as a middle schooler immediately. Hao Ren took out 100 yuan to exchange for gaming tokens, and he gave half to Zhao Yanzi. However, Zhao Yanzi wasn't interested in drumming and dancing games. Instead, she liked fighting games. She went straight over to Street Fighter and inserted multiple tokens. The man who was smoking and playing the game smoothly saw the new challenger next to him. He pounded on the keys with his right hand and chose 3 characters. Zhao Yanzi stared at the screen for a while and chose 3 female characters. "Uncle, help carry this for me." Zhao Yanzi handed her backpack to Hao Ren. Then, she stared at the screen with intense focus and decided on the order of her characters for the fight. "Ready, go." Zhao Yanzi held the joystick with the left hand and moved it swiftly, and her left hand was on the keys. Pa, 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 pa. Her fingers moved quicker than if she were playing the piano. The man who was smoking couldn't even hold the cigarette in his mouth anymore. The cigarette dropped to the ground, and the man put his right foot on the chair. He leaned extremely close to the machine and tried his best. "You win." Zhao Yanzi easily beat the opponent. The man turned around and looked at Zhao Yanzi only to find out that the person who beat him was a little girl who was still in middle school, and this girl even looked exceptionally pure. "Uncle, wanna play?" Zhao Yanzi asked as she turned and looked at Hao Ren. Hao Ren shook his head as he held her pink backpack by the side. He understood that play games did not mean gaming at an internet cafe to her. However, he didn't think Zhao Yanzi would be so good at street fighting games. It didn't fit her personality. Instead, it made her look like a young gangster-like girl. From how smooth she was with the controls, one could tell that she came here often. From the King of Fighters 97 to Street Fight, and from the Last Blade to Samurai Spirits, Zhao Yanzi played them all. Only a few who were really masters could beat her. Otherwise, she beat them all. "Uncle, why are you just watching me?" Zhao Yanzi won the last fight and looked at Hao Ren with a little bit of discontent. "That's because I can't beat you," Hao Ren said. Hao Ren looked around and saw that many guys were staring at him with hostility. Zhao Yanzi went down the line and defeated the guys in order. It was quite provoking. "Okay. Let's go play something else," Zhao Yanzi said happily as she dragged Hao Ren to another row of arcade machines. This row was made up of vertical shooter games. Hao Ren was better at these, so he sat down at one of them. Dang, 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 Zhao Yanzi put a few gaming tokens in the machine and chose a plane. Hao Ren chose another plane, and the 2 planes they chose appeared on the screen. "I'm for sure better than you at this," Hao Ren said. He used to go and play these games with his friends in middle school, so he was confident that his method of avoiding bullets was superior. However, as the game progressed, he realized that it wasn't the case. "Dummy. I have to go and save you." Zhao Yanzi dodged the raining bullets easily and then went to help Hao Ren to fight off the enemy in front of him. More and more people came over to watch them play as this game was incredibly difficult. In the last stage, the bullets filled the screen, so it was an incredible thing to see. "Dummy. Use the bomb." Zhao Yanzi was controlling her own plane but couldn't help but reach over to Hao Ren's controls. Hao Ren was flustered when he saw a screen full of bullets. But Zhao Yanzi didn't care how many people were watching him and kept calling him, dummy. Bang! It was the sound of the last giant-sized boss plane exploding, and Zhao Yanzi had carried Hao Ren and successfully beaten the game. Wow! The crowd behind exclaimed. Zhao Yanzi smiled with joy. She picked up her bag and then dragged Hao Ren toward another row of games by grabbing his wrist. Hao Ren was no match for her, but they coordinated well. There's too much pressure playing with you. I'll just go buy us some drinks. Hao Ren wiped off the sweat in his palms and walked over to the service desk to buy some drinks. Just when Hao Ren brought back 2 bottles of drinks, he saw a bald man who was sitting next to Zhao Yanzi and trying to talk to her. Drinks. Hao Ren put the 2 bottles of drinks on the control station of the arcade machine. The bald guy stared at Hao Ren viciously. He was just about to stand up when Hao Ren put his right hand on the former's shoulder, forcing him to sit down. I told you that my boyfriend is really strong. Zhao Yanzi rolled her eyes at this bald man, and she also knocked on his head with her fist. She was holding half a bag of gaming tokens, and they left marks on this bald man's head. Then, Zhao Yanzi kicked the man's chair, and the chair slid half a meter away, causing the bald man to fall onto the ice-cold floor. Seeing how swift Zhao Yanzi's movements were, Hao Ren knew it wasn't a good idea to get on her bad side. If it weren't for Zhao Hongyu keeping an eye on Zhao Yanzi, Hao Ren would probably get his butt kicked by Zhao Yanzi a long time ago at home. The bald man fell to the ground, and a few other men came over, surrounding them. Hao Ren held 2 fists and aimed at their chests, scaring them off. Then, Zhao Yanzi carried her backpack and left this area that was filled with smoke with Hao Ren. Before Zhao Yanzi lost her dragon core, she was at Gen level. Therefore, she was not a bit scared of these gangsters. Outside the fighting and war arcade machine were multiple player arcade machines, and there were many games designed for couples. Hao Ren looked at the many gaming tokens he and Zhao Yanzi had left and asked, "Do you want to?" "Who would play these childish games?" Zhao Yanzi immediately responded. Hao Ren almost felt like crying. He actually wanted to play, but he was called childish by a middle schooler. Zhao Yanzi grabbed the gaming token from Hao Ren and gave both her and Hao Ren's tokens to a girl who looked nice. "Here you go." That girl held the 2 bags of gaming token as she was incredibly confused. Zhao Yanzi dragged Hao Ren into the arcade park but then dragged him out. The upper floors of the Friendship Business Building had many retail stores, so Hao Ren thought for a bit and asked, "Why don't I buy you some clothes?" Zhao Yanzi rolled her eyes at Hao Ren and said, "Who wants to buy clothes? I'm hungry, and I want to go home and eat dinner." Sigh. Hao Ren let out a light sigh and pulled her out of the building. Zhao Yanzi was slim, but she was starting to grow taller. Even though she wore her school uniform, one could see her nice body shape. She was at the age where she didn't have to care about accumulating body fat, so she didn't need to bother with diets. Also, Zhao Yanzi was a great athlete at school. Her ponytail was neither short or long, and it swayed as she walked. No one could have thought that this middle school girl who looked like a good student just beat so many guys at arcade games. A few young people were looking at the parked Ferrari and thinking who it belonged to. Hao Ren led Zhao Yanzi over to the car, and they opened the door and went in. The bystanders all looked at them with shock. Hao Ren turned the steering wheel, and the car dashed out of the parking spot. The Ferrari that was very expensive was indeed different when being driven. Ah! Zhao Yanzi exhaled deeply as she was extremely relaxed and put her bag on her lap again. Hao Ren looked at her and thought, if she puts half the effort that she invested into gaming on learning, I won't need to tutor her. However, he was quite happy when he thought about their gaming experience just now. They had played a full hour on a vertical plane shooting game, and all the little things such as how Zhao Yanzi complained and how she smiled made it interesting. She doesn't only have shortcomings. Hao Ren stopped at a red light and turned over to look at the left side of Zhao Yanzi's face. There was a loose red string near her neck, and Hao Ren didn't think much and reached out for it. "Pa!" Zhao Yanzi hurried and slapped away Hao Ren's hand. A breeze blew by, and Hao Ren suddenly realized that the direction his hand was moving toward was her chest. "What is hanging around your neck?" Hao Ren asked awkwardly. Zhao Yanzi looked down and pulled the red string out. At the bottom of the string hung a jade pendant. Hao Ren reached for the jade pendant and looked closely. He felt how smooth it was on one side and saw the lion head carving on the other. The carving was very delicate and well done, and it was also filled with nature essence. This jade pendant was the one that Zhao Yanzi got from Duan Yao. If one wore this jade pendant while cultivating, it could help with both the concentration and the cultivation speed. D. The car behind them honked. Hao Ren saw that the red light in front of them had turned green, and he also saw the driver behind them looking at him strangely from the rear view mirror. Hao Ren noticed how he was slanted toward Zhao Yanzi with his hand in front of her neck holding the jade pendant. The seats blocked the real details of the situation, so the car behind them might have imagined a different scene. Hao Ren's face turned half red, and he stepped on the gas pedal and dashed across the intersection. "What are you beeping at?" Zhao Yanzi turned over and looked at the car behind them with discontent. It was good that she didn't figure out what was happening. Just when Hao Ren was going to park on the street in front of Zhao Yanzi's house, he noticed that it was full already with tens of Mercedes from out provinces parked there. Chapter 459. Little Gifts? There were a few other families around Zhao Yanzi's home, but the Mercedes all parked around Zhao Yanzi's home. They were obviously her family's guests. Who are these people? Both Hao Ren and Zhao Yanzi were confused. Hao Ren parked the car on the side and hurried in to see what was happening. There was probably no one who was brave enough to pick a fight at the East Ocean Dragon King's home on land since the East Ocean City was under Hao Ren and Su Han's jurisdiction. "Mom. I'm home." Zhao Yanzi was a bit worried, so she shouted out loud when she opened the main gates. "Come in," Zhao Hongyu said from inside. Zhao Yanzi was relieved, and she took out her keys to open the door. However, she was smart with her actions so that she would be able to act if anything was wrong and give Hao Ren some time to prepare for battle. The house was filled with tens of strangers. There were some old people as well as some mid-aged people, and there were also heavy boxes on the living room floor. "This is my daughter Zhao Yanzi, and this is the Fuma of our dragon clan, Hao Ren." Zhao Guang introduced them to everyone else. "He looks brilliant and full of potential, they're a perfect match." Many praises flooded the room. Hao Ren recognized the person who stood beside Zhao Guang. He was the wood elemental elder from Yuhong Mountain who appeared at the Dragon God Shrine's general exam, and the person next to this elder was the wood elemental cultivator who got severely wounded. The wood elemental cultivator looked much better after resting but was still a bit pale. It looked like that the first elder of Yuhong Mountain hurried here to thank the East Ocean Dragon Clan for everything as soon as his disciple was almost fully healed. "Ren, let me introduce everyone to you." Zhao Guang stood in front of Hao Ren and pointed to an elder whose face was full of wrinkles as he said, "This is Yuhong Mountain's Wood Dragon Palace's Dragon King, Xian Dragon King. This is the first elder, Elder Song, and this is Elder Song's first disciple, Wu Yi." Hao Ren put his hands together and gave a slight bow. "Nice to meet you, Dragon King." The dragon tribe was split into 5 big clans according to their elemental attributes: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Since there were a large number of water elemental dragons, and they were scattered around the world, they were further split into 4 groups: stream, river, lake, and ocean. Therefore, according to the categorization, the 4 ocean dragon palaces were only higher ranked than the stream, river, and lake dragon clans and managed all the water elemental dragons, but they were equal in ranking compared to the other elemental dragon clans. It meant that the Wood Dragon Palace at Yuhong Mountain was on the same level as the East Ocean Dragon Palace in theory. The East Ocean Dragon Palace could assert pressure on the Donjing Lake Dragon Clan, but it couldn't issue commands to any of the wood elemental dragons. Those stream, river, and lake dragon clans under the East Ocean jurisdiction would come pay tribute at the East Ocean Dragon Clan once a year, and those dragon kings would also come to the East Ocean Dragon Palace's annual celebrations. However, the wood elemental dragon kings wouldn't come unless they were friends with the East Ocean Dragon Palace, or they received grand invitations. Therefore, Hao Yuhong Mountain sent not only the first elder as well as the Dragon King himself to pay a visit to Zhao Guang was something very special. The scale of the visit was rather significant. "There's no need to be so courteous." Dragon King Si Yun lightly lifted Hao Ren's arms and told him he did not need to bow. "This is Kangye Dragon King from the Wood Dragon Palace at Kangye Lake, and these are Elder Shi and Elder Yu." Zhao Guang slowly introduced everyone to Hao Ren. Hao Ren quickly gave another bow. "This is Yingtian Dragon King from the Earth Dragon Palace at Longhu Mountain, and this is the first elder, Elder Yi." Hao Ren immediately bowed and greeted them. The rest of them were the followers of the 3 Dragon Kings and the elders, so Zhao Guang didn't introduce them individually. Hao Ren held his hands together, walked around and bowing to greet them to show his respect. "Yanzi, show some manners," Zhao Hongyu lightly said when she saw Zhao Yanzi holding her backpack and looking perplexed. "Hello, uncles," Zhao Yanzi said in a crisp voice. The 3 Dragon Kings and elders saw how energetic Zhao Yanzi was and smiled. "Dragon Kings, please sit down," Zhao Guang said as he held his hands out to show the way to the sofa. From the look of it, Hao Ren knew they had just arrived and hadn't gotten the chance to sit down yet. "Yanzi, go make some tea," Zhao Guang said with a stern face. There were no maids around, so it was up to Zhao Yanzi to make the tea. Zhao Yanzi put down her backpack and skittered into the kitchen with a huge smile on her face. The three Dragon Kings sat on the sofa, and Zhao Guang and Zhao Hongyu joined them there. None of the remaining elders and disciples dared to sit down, and Hao Ren looked around and didn't sit down as well. I've come from afar this time to thank the East Ocean Dragon Palace for saving Wu Yi, the first disciple of Yuhong Mountain. Xian Dragon King faced Zhao Guang and said slowly. This Dragon King looked the oldest. The 5 elemental dragon clans come from the same root, and we should help each other often, Zhao Guang said politely. Zhao Guang was also a bit shocked when the 3 Dragon Kings suddenly appeared at his door. Zhao Guang had been dealing with some business matters at the Mingri Group. If it weren't for the intelligence network of the East Ocean Dragon Clan, he wouldn't have known that the 3 Dragon Kings and the elders had entered the East Ocean City. We were planning to visit the East Ocean Dragon Palace but were afraid that Dragon King Zhao would throw a huge banquet for us. After some discussion, we decided to visit your home. Xian Dragon King looked at the other 2 Dragon Kings and said, Kangye Dragon King and Yingtian Dragon King are old friends of mine, and I invited them to join me. Tea's here. Zhao Yanzi let out another crisp shout. She was holding a large tray with 5 to 6 cups of Tiguanyin tea. She walked toward the center of the living room and put the teacups down one by one on the tea table in front of the sofa. Please drink. Zhao Guang said politely. The 3 Dragon Kings grabbed the cups and sipped. Then, they nodded and put the tea back on the glass tea table. It's such a great honor for us to have you 3 Dragon Kings gather at East Ocean. The East Ocean, Yuhong Mountain, Kangye Lake, and Longhu Mountain should take advantage of this opportunity and communicate well, Zhao Guang said with a big smile on his face. He wasn't as old as the other 3 Dragon Kings, but his communication skills were on par with them. The 3 Dragon Kings had come all the way here with so many people. It could be a good sign or a bad sign, so Zhao Guang didn't speak too fast or too direct. Yuhong Mountain was the most influential dragon clan in the southwestern territories. Although one couldn't really say that Kangye Lake and Longhu Mountain relied on Yuhong Mountain, they did follow Yuhong Mountain since their interests were aligned. In reality, Kangye Lake and Longhu Mountain were quite influential in the southwestern region themselves. They were at least as powerful as Dongjing Lake in East Ocean's territory, and they had at least tens of thousands of cultivators. There was little water in the southwestern region, so it was basically controlled by wood elemental and earth elemental dragons. Therefore, they could not be underestimated. That was also why Zhao Guang was cautious with his words. Xian Dragon King saw that Zhao Guang was still reserved, so he waved his hands. The disciples standing behind the sofa immediately started to open all the boxes on the floor. One box was full of 10,000-year-old agarwood, one box was full of purple gold sand, one box was full of black truffles, and the last box contained an ancient tree stem that was saturated with strong nature essence. These are just small gifts from us to thank the East Ocean Dragon Clan for helping us, Xian Dragon King said as he stroked his beard. Yuhong Mountain had spent a lot of effort in training Wu Yi these few hundred years, and he is extremely valuable to us. If he were to lose his life at the Dragon God Shrine's general exams, Yuhong Mountain would have suffered a tremendous loss. Zhao Guang didn't know what were in those boxes, so he was still on the lookout. Now seeing that they were all valuable gifts, he was relieved. He now knew that Xian Dragon King came with the other 2 Dragon Kings to thank them, so he said immediately, these gifts are too valuable, the East Ocean cannot accept. Agarwood and purple gold sand were great material for making Dharma treasures and elixir pills, especially 10,000-year-old agarwood because it cannot be penetrated by fire or water. Even a small piece could be made into a pendant. If one carved an array formation in it, it could become a strong defense Dharma treasure. Now, there was a full box of agarwood. The black truffles were also a great material for making elixir pills. However, even if it weren't used for elixirs, one could put it in hot water and drink it. It had positive effects such as improving energy flow and strength. These were very useful things to cultivators, and it was very generous for Xian Dragon King to gift them a whole box. That ancient tree stem was for sure something valuable. Zhao Yanzi quietly went to Hao Ren's side. She turned to him, and he could see her eyes filled with excitement. She had never experienced something like this. 3 Dragon Kings came to her home just to thank them. The tributes that the Stream, River, and Lake Dragon clans gifted to the East Ocean Dragon Palace were usually given to them by premiers of the Dragon Palaces or elders. Dragon Kings would normally not visit in person, so it was extremely rare for 3 Dragon Kings to visit. In reality, Zhao Hongyu and Zhao Guang had never experienced such an event as well. Both the valuable gifts and the appearance of the 3 Dragon Kings were strong signs that these 3 Dragon clans wanted to establish friendships with East Ocean. The East Ocean Dragon Clan was on the rise. This is just a small gift. Dragon King Zhao, you don't need to be so polite. Xian Dragon King looked up and saw Hao Ren behind Zhao Guang. Dragon King Zhao's Fuma is really a talented person. He is very good. It was obvious they were impressed by Hao Ren's performance at the Dragon God Shrine's general exams. They probably also knew that Hao Ren had been promoted to a level 3 inspector. Zhao Guang smiled pleasantly as he turned around and looked at Hao Ren. The look on his face was filled with more affection and fatherly love. The origin of this chapter's debut can be traced to N0v3LB1N. I still have another request, but I don't know if Dragon King Zhao will accept it. Xian Dragon King asked. Please do say. Zhao Guang said very directly. I want to see the elixir master of East Ocean. That was such a valuable pill, so I wanted to return a small gift in person, Xian Dragon King said sincerely. Chapter 460. The request from a Dragon King. This, Zhao Guang hesitated for a bit. Ren, go bring Yujia over if she is free, Zhao Hongyu said as she turned her head over and looked at Hao Ren. Okay. Hao Ren said without any hesitation. He walked over to the door that connected to the back garden and brought out Little White from his necklace. He formed a red energy sphere and flew out speedily on Little White. The first elder of Yuhong Mountain had seen Hao Ren's snow lion at the Dragon God Shrine's general exams, so he wasn't surprised at all. However, the other elders and the 3 Dragon Kings were a bit shocked when Hao Ren rode on a demon beast. The East Ocean Dragon Palace is indeed strong enough to have the resources to train demon beasts, the 3 Dragon Kings thought as they picked up their teacups. Hao Ren was the regional inspector of the East Ocean City, so he was allowed to fly in the sky. With Little White, it only took him the blink of an eye to get from Zhao Yanzi's home to his home. Little White flew to the back of the house, and Hao Ren went close to Xie Yujia's room's window and saw her studying. Xie Yujia was in her blue pajamas and had on a pair of small slippers. She just washed her hair, and she didn't tie it. Overall, she had a gentle temperament. Dong, 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 dong. Hao Ren knocked on her window lightly. Xie Yujia turned her head, looking a bit confused. She saw Hao Ren at the window and looked a bit surprised but hurried over to open the window. Yanzi's mom wants you to come over for a bit. The cultivator whom you saved last time came over with his dragon clan to thank you. However, it's okay if you don't want to go, Hao Ren said as he sat on Little White. It's okay. I'll go check it out. Xie Yujia put down her pen. Then, she looked down at herself and saw that she was still in pajamas. She wanted to change first, but Hao Ren was at the window. Yujia, come out. Little White was floating in the air outside, and Hao Ren was knocking on the window. Oh! Hao Ren suddenly realized and twisted Little White's ear to order it to turn around. Their backs were now facing her window. Xie Yujia blushed while she closed her curtains. A few minutes later, the curtains reopened, and she carefully climbed out of the window. She had changed into a clean white shirt and jeans, making her look especially fresh. Hao Ren reached over to catch her by her arms so that she could climb over to Little White's back from the window. Xie Yujia's room was on the first floor, and it faced the garden, so there was still some distance between the window and the ground. Careful, Hao Ren supported Yujia by her shoulders, hugging her directly. Her body felt soft but was a bit different from Zhao Yanzi's. Xie Yujia was between mature and young. I'm okay. Xie Yujia sat in front of Hao Ren. She shoved his hands away gently, and her face was a bit red. Although she and Hao Ren knew each other well, she was still too shy to let him touch her body. Hao Ren let go of her, feeling a bit embarrassed. He wanted to explain but thought there was no real purpose to it. Also, the way Xie Yujia came over to open the window felt like they were seeing each other secretly. In reality, Hao Ren just didn't want to be questioned by Grandma, so he didn't go through the front door. The origin of this chapter's debut can be traced to N.O.vel. B. in. Ahem. Little White, go to Yanzi's home. Hao Ren patted Little White's butt. Little White groaned but still flew toward Zhao Yanzi's home. Dong. Little White landed in the back garden of Zhao Yanzi's home. The 3 Dragon Kings had just had 2 sips of tea, and Hao Ren already brought Xie Yujia over. It was incredibly fast and efficient, and the Dragon Kings were all impressed by the demon beast's flying speed. Uncle, Auntie, Xie Yujia greeted Zhao Guang and Zhao Hongyu as she followed Hao Ren in from the back door with a slight blush on her face. Zhao Yanzi lightly snorted when she saw Xie Yujia. Come over, Yujia. Zhao Hongyu stood up enthusiastically and led Yujia over to the center of the living room. She then introduced her to the 3 Dragon Kings. Xie Yujia didn't understand the concepts of dragon palaces, so she treated them like seniors with good manners and respect. These 3 dragon kings, as well as their elders and disciples, couldn't suppress their astonishment when they saw how young the East Ocean Dragon Palace's elixir master was. They all thought that an elixir master who could make level 4 elixir pills would at least be a few hundred years old. The first elder of Yuhong Mountain had seen Xie Yujia before, but he didn't expect that such a young girl would be the well-respected elixir master of the East Ocean Dragon Palace. They were all shocked and were weighing Xie Yujia's abilities. She was pretty without dispute, but she did not give out any auras from her dragon core. Could she be on Qian level or Kun level? The 3 dragon kings smiled as they secretly passed messages to each other with their eyes. She probably isn't a dragon cultivator, Yingtian Dragon King from Longhu Mountain said lightly. The other 2 dragon kings were both slightly surprised. They realized how great of a strategy that the East Ocean Dragon clan had, taking in an elixir master who wasn't even a dragon cultivator. When Zhao Hongyu saw them passing looks around, she reminded them by saying, "Xian Dragon King." Oh, right, Xian Dragon King reacted quickly. He took out a box from his ring while smiling kindly at Xie Yujia. Yuhong Mountain is a poor area, and we don't have anything special. Here are 6 blood ginsengs as a symbol of our gratitude. Xie Yujia took over the box from Xian Dragon King stiffly. Then, she carefully opened the box. There were 6 well-organized red ginsengs, and they looked extremely potent. Zhao Guang was secretly shocked since the value of the 6 blood ginsengs far exceeded the treasure boxes. Xian Dragon King of Yuhong Mountain said he was in a poor area, but that was just to be polite. Yuhong Mountain had rich lands in the southwestern region, and it had many spiritual herbs. The East Ocean Dragon Palace was in the East Ocean, and it had many corals and shells. Xian Dragon King of the Yuhong Mountain controlled over a few surrounding canyons, so it too had many rare things. Agarwood was one of Yuhong Mountain's special local products, and the blood ginsengs were extremely unique. The blood ginseng's importance to Yuhong Mountain was like the mystic ice to the West Ocean Dragon Clan. Xian Dragon King was underplaying the value of these gifts. The crystal-clear blood ginsengs were invaluable as it would take at least 1,000 years to grow into that quality. Xie Yujia held the box but didn't know what to do with it. "Yujia, you should accept the gift since it is from Xian Dragon King," Zhao Hongyu said. "Thank you, Dragon King." Xie Yujia smiled sweetly and put the box in her ring. She had spent a lot of time recently reading about spiritual herbs, but the red-colored ginseng was nothing she had seen before. Therefore, she couldn't estimate the value of these 6 ginsengs. These blood ginsengs were just ranked right below the level 6 spirit herbs, which were the best elixir-making materials. The blood ginsengs were level 5 spiritual herbs, and they were almost extinct. That was why the encyclopedia Zhen Kongming gave her didn't record it. If Xie Yujia showed Zhao Guang the 3 ingredients she got from Kunlun, he would be for sure in greater shock. There weren't many level 6 spirit herbs in the world, and the Sky Mountain sect's capability of growing 7-colored lotus, which helped them secure a powerful position on 6th heaven, was already evidence for how valuable level 6 spirit herbs were. Humph. Zhao Yanzi, who was very excited just now, was a little jealous after she witnessed Xian Dragon King gifting Xie Yujia. "I still have another request." Xian Dragon King hesitated for a few seconds and said in a respectful tone. A level 4 elixir master might just be an honorable guest at the East Ocean Dragon Palace, but he or she would be very important to smaller forces. Even though Yuhong Mountains was wealthy as well, their powers were still no match for the East Ocean Dragon Palace. "Please." Xie Yujia also respected him. The 2 dragon kings besides Xian Dragon King also looked more earnest. Zhao Hongyu also looked serious now. She knew that it was impossible that the 3 dragon kings came to the East Ocean Dragon Palace to only greet them. Zhao Guang also realized that, so he was careful with his words and behaviors in front of the 3 dragon kings. Of course, the East Ocean Dragon Palace had helped one of Yuhong Mountain's wood elemental cultivators, thus leading to them show gratitude. However, that wasn't enough for Xian Dragon King to come here himself and bringing along 2 other dragon kings. "Our wood elemental dragon clan has deep bonds with spirit herbs, and therefore we know a bit of elixir making. However, we focus on cultivation, so we still need to work on our elixir making skills," Xian Dragon King slowly said as he looked at Xie Yujia. "Now that our Yuhong Mountain Wood Elemental Dragon clan is becoming friends with the East Ocean Dragon Palace, would you be willing to make one pill for us?" Zhao Hongyu was secretly relieved after finding out Xian Dragon King's real intention. The value of the boxes of treasures and 6 blood ginsengs were not lower than the life fortune pill that Xie Yujia had given Yuhong Mountain. However, the life fortune pill was incredibly rare, and no one was willing to sell it. They came here with many gifts, and it made Zhao Hongyu nervous. Now that their intention was known, Zhao Hongyu was relieved. Xie Yujia didn't know what to do in such a situation. The pills she made were consumed by herself or stored away for Hao Ren, and she had never come across a very important guest who came all the way over to ask her to make a pill for him. He was also a dragon king, so she couldn't just accept his request since it was a political situation. She looked over at Hao Ren looked at Zhao Hongyu, and Zhao Hongyu looked at Zhao Guang. Xie Yujia belonged to the East Ocean Dragon Palace, and Zhao Guang should decide whether she should make the pill for these guests from afar. Xian Dragon King looked a bit embarrassed. He gifted a few boxes of treasures to thank the East Ocean Dragon Palace for their help while also hoping that he could get a recommendation so that the Elixir Master could help him. He didn't expect the Elixir Master to belong to the East Ocean Dragon Palace wholeheartedly, and the final call was in Zhao Guang's hands. On the other hand, Xian Dragon King was further impressed by the strength of the East Ocean Dragon Palace. "What pill are you looking for, Xian Dragon King?" Zhao Guang asked. His voice sounded especially composed. To Xian Dragon King, Zhao Guang's voice also represented the mighty strength of the East Ocean Dragon Palace. "It's a level 4 rejuvenation pill. I prepared all the materials and only hope this lady could help me make it," Xian Dragon King said. Since the Elixir Master wasn't hired as he had expected, he couldn't directly ask the Elixir Master himself. Therefore, he had to open up with Zhao Guang. "Yujia, what do you think?" Zhao Guang turned over to ask Xie Yujia gently. "Level 4? I can give it a try," Xie Yujia nodded and said. "Thank you." Xian Dragon King was ecstatic. He took out a palm-sized golden box from his ring and handed it over to Xie Yujia carefully. A level 4 rejuvenation pill was famous on First Heaven for its ability to prolong one's life. As long as the quality of the ingredients was good, the pill could extend one's life for 100 years. For some older dragon cultivators, this 100 years may be their most critical 100 years. Yuhong Mountain was well respected in the southwestern region, but Xian Dragon King was already more than 600 years old. Since he was at Xuan level, he was reaching the end of his life. His eldest son was only about 300 years old, but he was still charging at Xuan level. He still lacked in credibility and power to lead the clan. However, if Xian Dragon King were able to prolong his life for another 100 years, things would be different. Even if he couldn't break through, he could buy time for his son to reach higher levels in cultivation, better preparing him to take over the Yuhong Mountain Dragon Clan. Therefore, this rejuvenation pill was the key for the Yuhong Mountain Dragon Clan to stabilize its interior affairs. "I'll revisit the East Ocean Dragon Palace in 1 month, and I hope you could finish the pill by then," Xian Dragon King said to Xie Yujia with a big smile on his face. He had high hopes for her. Just when Xie Yujia moved her lips as she wanted to say something, Xian Dragon King took out a thumb-sized jade furnace from his ring quickly because he thought she was going to go back on her words. He uttered a spell, and this jade furnace that originally looked like a toy slowly became bigger and bigger in his palm. Xian Dragon King put the jade furnace down on the floor, and it turned bigger until it was barely able to be held up by 2 arms. This is the Herb King Furnace, and it is one of Yuhong Mountain's most valued treasures. You could use this jade furnace to make the pill, and the process should be more efficient, Xian Dragon King said. Xie Yujia looked down at the jade furnace and then at Xian Dragon King again. She still had things to say. Xian Dragon King suddenly waved his hands at Zhao Guang. "We will forever remember how the East Ocean Dragon Palace helped Yuhong Mountain. If the East Ocean Dragon Palace needs help in the future, Yuhong Mountain will for sure try our best to help." Making a level 4 pill was not a simple task. Xian Dragon King was scared that Xie Yujia would rescind, so he didn't bother with manners and turned away. He was ready to leave. Seeing that Xian Dragon King was about to step out the door, Xie Yujia finally said, "Dragon King, it won't take a month to make the pill. If you can wait for about an hour, and I'll have the pill for you." Chapter 461. Can't bully you no more. An hour. Xian Dragon King, who already stepped 1 foot out the door, suddenly stopped. He turned around and looked at Xie Yujia, wondering if something was wrong with his ears. The other 2 Dragon King who came along with Xian Dragon King also stared at Xie Yujia in astonishment. "Yes, it should only take an hour, at most 2 hours. You can enjoy your tea while I go make the pill for you." Xie Yujia looked at him and said sincerely. Zhao Hongyu smiled and ordered Zhao Yanzi, "Yanzi, hurry up and get new tea for the 3 Dragon Kings." Zhao Yanzi was a bit stunned but hurried to run into the kitchen. Zhao Guang, who was walking the 3 Dragon Kings to the door, remained calm. He said, "There's no hurry. Please stay and enjoy some tea." The 3 Dragon Kings looked at each other and walked back to the living before sitting down on the sofa. Xie Yujia looked at Hao Ren, conveying a very specific message and saying that she needed his help. Hao Ren smiled. He lifted the jade furnace with one hand and threw it into his necklace. Then, he walked out to the garden with Xie Yujia and Little White. Although this seemed normal to Hao Ren, it looked extremely shocking to the three dragon kings. The jade furnace was quite large, and it hadn't been shrunken with the Dharma spell. However, Hao Ren was able to lift it easily and then store it in his storage space. The size of his storage space must be enormous. They thought, the storage Dharma treasures of the East Ocean Dragon Palace are extraordinary as well. Amongst the 5 elemental dragons, the metal elemental dragons were best at cultivation, the wood elemental dragons mastered elixir making, the fire elemental dragons were good at making Dharma treasures, the earth elemental dragons specialized in array formations, and the water elemental dragons were the most ordinary, but they just outnumbered the other clans and were geographically dispersed, forming a strong force. Of course, compared to the human cultivators, the dragon cultivators had dragon cores, longevity, and faster cultivation. The dragon cultivators could easily reach Gen level, which was equivalent to the core formation realm. However, after a few hundred years, if they knew they couldn't reach Shuan level, they would start using their clan's resources on studying elixir making, Dharma treasure making, or array formations. The human cultivators, on the other hand, could figure out whether they could reach the core formation realm in a few decades. If they were able to reach the foundation establishment realm but had no hopes of entering the core formation realm, they would spend the next 100 or 200 years focused on other things. That was why the cultivation sects on and above 5th heaven were much better than the dragon cultivators in everything other than cultivations. In theory, water elemental dragons shouldn't be good at any of these subjects. However, the level 4 elixir master and Hao Ren's necklace did not align with traditional stereotypes and surprised the 3 dragon kings. The East Ocean Dragon Palace not only has a level 4 elixir master but also a strong Dharma treasure master. This Dharma treasure master could create enormous storage treasures, they thought. Please drink tea, Zhao Guang said happily, looking as if he were smiling brightly. At this moment, Hao Ren was taking Xie Yujia up toward 5th heaven. Since Xie Yujia wanted to make elixirs, she couldn't do it at Zhao Yanzi's home. 5th heaven was the best place to do it. They first opened the array formation before going into Xie Yujia's elixir making room. Xie Yujia took out the spiritual herbs from the golden box by order. Then, she found the recipe for the rejuvenation pill from the stack of recipes that Zhen Kongming gave her. Recipes were essential. For many pills, just having the materials weren't enough since the proportion of materials greatly influenced the quality of the pills. However, Xie Yujia had the support of Zhen Kongming, who was a grandmaster in this field. Zhen Kongming had so many rare recipes that he could just give them to Xie Yujia as if they were just white paper. There was nothing to worry about. Bam! Hao Ren put the jade furnace in the center of the elixir making room. There were initially 2 elixir furnaces in Xie Yujia's elixir making room, but the 2 furnaces had been heated by Little White's demon fire too many times. Since Little White was already a level 2 demon beast, its demon fire was much more powerful. Therefore, one of the elixir furnaces was no longer usable, and the other one seemed like it couldn't be used for much longer either. Hao Ren, help me guard this place, Xie Yujia said to Hao Ren as she stood in front of the jade furnace. Okay. Hao Ren gave her a firm nod. In this concealed ethereal summit, Xie Yujia wouldn't usually be disturbed. However, with Hao Ren by her side, she felt safer. Elixir making was something that required incredible focus for the pills not to be damaged. If this process was disturbed, the nature essence in the elixir furnace might cause a backlash against the elixir master, so they had to have their own elixir making room. Xie Yujia knew what to do after she looked at the recipe. She pointed with her fingers, and a golden note flew out, collecting one type of materials from the stone desk and putting it into the jade furnace. Little White! Xie Yujia exclaimed lightly. Roar! Little White spit out its demon fire. It wasn't Little White's first time helping Xie Yujia in making elixirs, so the two of them already had some excellent coordination. Of course, if Little White didn't spit out the fire in time, its butt would get punished by Xie Yujia. Xie Yujia's fingers kept moving, and the ingredients that were wrapped in the gold notes flew into the jade furnace. It had been a while since Hao Ren watched Xie Yujia make elixir pills. This time, he was able to see it up close and realized how much she had improved. Xie Yujia's movements were elegant and skillful. If she were wearing a white robe with an 8 trigram symbol on it, the scene would have been even prettier to watch. Little White continued to spit out demon fire. Making elixirs was a type of training for Little White. After reaching level 2, there was a small demon core formed inside its body. As it continued to spit out the fire, the demon core was also being tempered to a certain extent. There was no lid on the jade furnace, so white smoke came out as Little White's demon fire continued to heat it up. Xie Yujia's gold and silver notes turned into gold and silver lights, dancing on top of the jade furnace, forming a small tornado. Little White used all its energy to spit out the fire, and it sniffed with its nose hard, sucking in the white smoke through his nose. The smoke from cooking spiritual herbs had some nature essence in it. It contained too many impurities for cultivators, but it was great for demon beasts. Wah! 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 Xie Yujia used another 4 natal dharma notes. The jade furnace that was originally sitting on the floor steadily started to spin in the air. Little White had just taken a deep breath and sucked in some of that white smoke. It wiggled its tail and spat out stronger demon fire. The heavy jade furnace spun faster in the air under the burning flames. Xie Yujia picked up the last few ingredients lightly with her right hand and threw them into the furnace with a smooth trajectory. Good technique, Hao Ren couldn't help but praise. Xie Yujia was really good at cooking, and she also had great potential in elixir making. Both cooking and elixir making were similar to Xie Yujia. Little White was breathing heavily, sticking out its tongue but continuing to spit out demon fire. It was tired from all the fire breathing. They knew that using demon fire to make elixir pills usually required the demon beast to be at least level 4 or level 5. For Little White, the purity of the demon fire wasn't a problem, but it wasn't as powerful. However, all the elixir pills that Xie Yujia fed Little White wasn't wasted. Any other level 2 demon beast would not be able to withstand Little White's fire. It's done, Little White! Xie Yujia exclaimed. Little White immediately took back its tongue and lied on the floor exhaustedly. Xie Yujia threw it 3 essence replenishment pills and 3 energy fusion pills. Little White stuck out its long red tongue and devoured the 6 pills without even chewing. Bam! The jade furnace landed again on the floor. Xie Yujia hit it with 3 life death notes, and it rang 3 times. Then, 3 pills bounced out of the jade furnace. Almost simultaneously, Xie Yujia took out a white jade bottle from her bracelet. She raised it high up and caught the 3 pills accurately. Ding, 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 the pills rolled into the bottom of the bottle. Hao Ren looked amused watching Xie Yujia's smooth movements. He suddenly thought that her movements were beautiful. Her arms were exceptionally white. Even the white jade bottle wasn't as pretty as her arm and fingers. Xie Yujia used a piece of red cloth to close the bottom. Then, she let out a long sigh of relief and turned to Hao Ren who was standing at the entrance. She raised her eyebrows and asked, "What is it?" Hao Ren shook his head and smiled. Xie Yujia really improved. She no longer was the girl who needed the life-death notes to make elixirs. She now had the skill of her own to do it. Her smooth movements in the elixir-making room were a delight to the eye. Hao Ren used 5 elemental sword energy while Xie Yujia used the 5 elemental life-death notes. Now, Xie Yujia's movements looked like she could disperse life-death notes in all directions. Although Xie Yujia could only use tens of life-death notes now, she might be able to handle hundreds or even thousands of them in the future. That scene would be incredible. Hao Ren had witnessed the power of life-death notes before. The life-death notes could be small or big, powerful or weak. The powerful ones could collapse a mountain to the ground while the smaller ones could slip into one's body and lock acupoints. It was a technique even more domineering than the light-splitting sword shadow scroll. Therefore, it was understandable why the soul formation realm cultivator from the Kunlun mountain was scared of old grandma. However, after Xie Yujia read the techniques, she realized that she wouldn't be able to practice and cultivate the life-death notes if old grandma didn't plant the origin notes in her body. It meant that even if Hao Ren wanted to, he would not be able to learn this set of techniques. Also, the origin notes were the symbols that told everyone Xie Yujia was the disciple of Qingfeng Hermit. As long as Xie Yujia used the life-death notes, similar-level opponents wouldn't be able to defeat her, and the more powerful cultivators would have to keep some distance from her. Old grandma pretty much gave Xie Yujia the ability to never lose. What is going on? Xie Yujia walked over to Hao Ren and waved her hands in front of his eyes. Nothing. I just realized that I can't bully you anymore. Hao Ren returned from his thoughts and said jokingly. What are you saying? Xie Yujia murmured softly. She bent down, dusted Little White's butt, and sat on its back. Chapter 462. Helping East Ocean. When Hao Ren and Xie Yujia returned to Zhao Yanzi's home, the tea in the teacups of the 3 Dragon Kings was still warm. Sorry for making you wait. Xie Yujia walked into the room and went straight to Xian Dragon King. Xian Dragon King was just talking about the situation of the southwest region with Zhao Guang when he saw Xie Yujia coming, and he was shocked at how fast she was. It was much faster than he had expected. Your pills are done. Please take a look. Xie Yujia took out the white jade bottle and put it on the tea table. Sea and Dragon King picked up the bottle. He paused for half a second before taking out the red cloth that was sealing the bottle. The debut release occurred at NOV3L equals B, J, N. Normally speaking, if he trusted the East Ocean Dragon Palace enough, he should just put the bottle away without inspection. However, these pills were too important for both him and Yuhong Mountain, so he couldn't help but take a look. D, the 3 red pills rolled out from the bottle at once. This, Sea and Dragon King's eyes opened widely. I thought there were sufficient ingredients, so I made more. You could give the other 2 to these 2 Dragon Kings. I hope you don't mind, Xie Yujia explained. The 2 Dragon Kings who were beside Sea and Dragon King were both shocked and delighted when they heard what Xie Yujia said. They accepted Sea and Dragon King's invitation to visit the East Ocean Dragon Palace together. They thought it would be an excellent opportunity to build relationships with the East Ocean Dragon Palace as well as support Sea and Dragon King. However, they never thought that coming here would get them each a rejuvenation pill. Of course, I don't mind. Sea and Dragon King's wrinkled face brightened. The Earth Elemental Dragons were the best in making elixirs amongst the 5 elemental dragons. Although Sea and Dragon King couldn't make elixir himself, he was still good at distinguishing the levels of pills. These 3 pills were the real deal, level 4 rejuvenation pills. 1 pill could increase their life expectancy by 100 years. Of course, one could only take 1 pill since the second pill wouldn't have the same effect. However, 100 years was enough for Sea and Dragon King. He, thanks to Sea and Dragon King, we've got it too. Kangye Dragon King and Yingtian Dragon King stood up and thanked Xie Yujia. Even though they weren't as desperate for the rejuvenation pills as Sea and Dragon King, a level 4 elixir pill could be stored, and it could be extremely useful in the future. Zhao Hongyu looked at Xie Yujia and thought happily, she is really a considerate girl. We will forever remember the favor that East Ocean had done for Yuhong Mountain. There are still a lot of things to deal with in the mountains. Once I'm done, I will visit again with more gifts. Sea and Dragon King put the white jade bottle in his ring and stood up straight. He held his hands together and bowed at Zhao Guang gratefully. Kangye Dragon King and Yingtian Dragon King also stood up and said, the Kangye Lake Dragon Clan and the Longhu Mountain Dragon Clan will help out if the East Ocean Dragon Clan needs any help in the future. Kangye Lake and Longhu Mountain were 2 medium-sized clans in the southwestern region. However, since there weren't large clans like the East Ocean Dragon Clan in that region, together with Sea and Dragon King, they represented the majority of power in the area. Of course, Zhao Guang was ecstatic. He never thought that Xie Yujia's pill could lead to friendships with 3 southwestern dragon clans. In fact, these 3 elixir pills had led to an alliance between the East Ocean Dragon Clan and 3 southwestern dragon clans. Geographically speaking, the southwestern region was closer to the West Ocean Dragon Palace. However, the West Ocean Dragon Palace was more arrogant, so other non-water elemental dragon clans didn't have a good relationship with them. Now that the East Ocean Dragon Clan had bonded with the 3 southwestern Dragon Kings, it was a bigger threat to the West Ocean Dragon Clan. Therefore, the West Ocean Dragon Clan would not dare to make a move so easily. Thank you for the pills, Elixir Master. If there's a chance, please come and visit Yuhong Mountain, Sea and Dragon King said to Xie Yujia politely. He only knew the East Ocean Dragon Clan had a level 4 Elixir Master before, but now he knew that she wasn't simple. Their wood elemental dragon clans also had experience with making elixir, but they would have to pay close attention for at least a week to make level 4 pills. However, if adding the amount of time required to get ready, it would take at least half a month. That was why he gave Xie Yujia a month just in case other events took place. Sea and Dragon King had indeed given Xie Yujia more ingredients, but that was taking failures and leakage from the elixir making process into consideration. He never expected that the elixir master of the East Ocean Dragon Palace would use some materials of her own to create 3 rejuvenation pills. From all aspects, Sea and Dragon King thought that this elixir master's real power far exceeded that of a regular level 4 elixir master. Regardless of which dragon clan she belonged to, it was worth building a good relationship with her. Yujia is like half a daughter to me. If we ever have the chance to visit Yuhong Mountain, I'll bring her along with me. Zhao Hongyu lightly took hold of Xie Yujia's hand and said to Sea and Dragon King gently. She knew what Sea and Dragon King was thinking about very clearly. After all, an elixir master like Xie Yujia would be beneficial to any power, and they would want to win her over using any method. What Zhao Hongyu just did showed East Ocean's close relationship with Xie Yujia, signaling to Sea and Dragon King that it would be a waste of time and effort for Yuhong Mountain to try to win Xie Yujia over. Congratulations to you, Dragon Queen, for having such a talented and beautiful daughter. I'm very jealous." Xian Dragon King laughed energetically to relieve the awkwardness. After some thought, Xian Dragon King realized that the East Ocean Dragon clan would for sure keep such a talented elixir master close. On the other hand, since such a talented elixir master was willing to help the East Ocean Dragon clan, it only meant that they had good relationships. Everything made sense if Xie Yujia was like a daughter to the Dragon Queen of East Ocean. Zhao Hongyu responded with an elegant smile and no further explanations. Zhao Yanzi pouted, feeling like Xie Yujia was more like a daughter to her mom than her. "Thanks for the help today. I'll come again next time to show my gratitude officially," Xian Dragon King said and gave a slight bow. As he did that, he stared at Hao Ren, thinking, this young Fuma of the East Ocean Dragon clan is strong. Although I didn't see his performance at the Dragon God Shrine's general exams, all the elders who went told me great things about him. This young man is respectful, humble, not greedy, and patient. Rumor had it that he is also the commanding general of the East Ocean Dragon Palace. This step of befriending the East Ocean Dragon clan seems like a good step to take. This jade furnace. Hao Ren took out the big jade furnace from his storage space. With all the thoughts in his mind, Xian Dragon King almost forgot about the jade furnace, which was one of the most precious treasures of the Yuhong Mountain Dragon clan. He. Xian Dragon King smiled friendly and cast a Dharma spell to turn the jade furnace smaller. Then, he put the small jade furnace into his storage ring. Damn! What a virtuous young man! Xian Dragon King praised Hao Ren secretly. The jade furnace was a great treasure. After Xian Dragon King received the 3 rejuvenation pills, he was so thrilled that he forgot about it. If he left without asking it back, he might not be able to get it back in the future. However, Hao Ren had no intention of keeping the jade furnace for himself and gave it back voluntarily. Xian Dragon King had lived for 600 years, and he looked at Hao Ren and thought secretly, this young man will reach great heights in the future. The 3 Dragon Kings and the elders and their disciples walked toward the door. Zhao Guang, Zhao Hongyu, Hao Ren, Zhao Yanzi, and Xie Yujia all went out to see them off. Since Yuhong Mountain didn't need to wait a month to come back to get the pills, it didn't mean that they couldn't come back. Instead, they would come back for sure with even more valuable gifts. The 2 other Dragon Kings who came along with Xian Dragon King would also send gifts to the East Ocean Dragon clan since they got rejuvenation pills as well. The conversation between the 4 Dragon clans was quite smooth, and it seemed like they could become great allies. The tens of Mercedes drove away slowly, and Zhao Guang was delighted and let out a long relieved breath. The East Ocean Dragon clan had destroyed the West Ocean Dragon Palace. Then, the East Ocean Dragon Palace destroyed the West Ocean Dragon Palace's troops. On land, Mingri Group had acquired Conqueror Group subsidiaries, pushing Conqueror Group into a dangerous position. All these things would make the East Ocean Dragon Palace look dominating and pressing. Xian Dragon King of Yuhong Mountain was well respected amongst the Wood Elemental Dragon clans because he was fair and mild. Even the Earth Elemental Dragon clans respected him. Both the Wood Elemental and Earth Elemental Dragon clans were deep in the forests, so they were often neighbors with close relationships. It also meant that they were somewhat distant from the Water Elemental Dragon clans. Unlike the retired Dragon Kings, Xian Dragon King was in charge of Yuhong Mountain, and his words could influence the perspectives other Wood Elemental and Earth Elemental Dragon clans had toward the East Ocean Dragon Palace. With Xian Dragon King's good impression of the East Ocean Dragon clan, there should be more and more clans that would be willing to establish relationships with the East Ocean Dragon clan, allowing East Ocean to have a better reputation and have access to more resources. Hee. Let's go have dinner, Zhao Guang said happily as he watched the cars disappear. Then, he turned around and walked into the house. The relationships that the East Ocean Dragon clan had with other dragon clans were those from past generations. Some were Zhao Hongyu's father's friends, while some were elders that lived in the deep woods around East Ocean City who were willing to say good things for the East Ocean Dragon clan. However, since they were distanced from core power now, their words were not convincing. The East Ocean Dragon Palace could not visit other elemental dragon clans due to its high status, and those other elemental dragon clans also didn't like visiting East Ocean since they were far away. Now, Yuhong Mountain had come to visit on their own, and this solved a huge headache for Zhao Guang. Zhao Hongyu knew what was going on inside Zhao Guang's mind, so she smiled happily. Yuhong Mountain's Xian Dragon King was a fair person. After he gets back, he would for sure help the East Ocean Dragon clan bond with other dragon clans. From the look of it, the East Ocean Dragon Palace would become much livelier in the future, and Premier Shah, who had nothing to do at the moment, would be so busy that he wouldn't have time to rest. Chapter 463. Little White's poop. When Zhao Hongyu went back inside the house, she felt extremely relieved. Dinner was already cooked, but it was postponed since Xian Dragon King came over. She told everyone to gather around the dinner table for the meal. "Auntie, I already had dinner," Xie Yujia said softly as she saw Zhao Hongyu bring out dishes from the kitchen. "It's okay. Come and eat a few bites," Zhao Hongyu said as she put the last dish on the table. Then, she went over directly to Xie Yujia and pulled her over to the dinner table. "Okay. Thank you, Auntie." Xie Yujia couldn't reject Zhao Hongyu's enthusiastic invitation, so she smiled and sat down. "Yujia, come." Zhao Hongyu put the utensils in front of Xie Yujia. Zhao Yanzi was sitting across from Xie Yujia, looking a bit angry. "Yanzi, go get the rice," Zhao Hongyu told Zhao Yanzi. Zhao Yanzi pouted and stood up to fetch the rice in the kitchen. Hao Ren smiled. He understood what Zhao Yanzi was feeling. When Yu Yang and Hao Zonghua paid more attention to Xie Yujia than him, he felt a bit jealous as well. "It's not the first time you've been over, Yujia. Make yourself at home." Zhao Hongyu smiled when she talked to Xie Yujia. Xie Yujia nodded, but she looked a bit shy. She held her chopsticks and started eating the dishes in front of her in little bites. "Eat some meat." Zhao Hongyu picked up a piece of braised pork and put it in Xie Yujia's bowl. Zhao Hongyu was very hospitable toward Xie Yanzi, but that made Xie Yujia a little bit uncomfortable. However, Zhao Hongyu was better at cooking than Xie Yujia, so her braised pork was delicious. Humph! Zhao Yanzi couldn't stand it anymore, so she picked up a big piece of braised pork with her chopsticks and put it directly in Hao Ren's bowl, even though he was across the table. Hao Ren was silent, focusing his attention on eating. Therefore, he was shocked and thought why he was suddenly involved. "Eat some more." Zhao Yanzi pouted and said to Hao Ren. "Okay." Hao Ren just looked down and had a bite of the braised pork. The act of Zhao Yanzi picking up meat and putting it in Hao Ren's bowl was supposed to be something sweet, but Hao Ren smelled jealousy in the air. "Xie Yujia, try this." Zhao Hongyu stared at Zhao Yanzi. Then, she got a piece of steamed carp and put it in Xie Yujia's bowl. Since Xie Yujia wasn't actually a part of the East Ocean Dragon clan, she didn't need to make pills for the Dragon Kings, especially not level 4 pills. Regardless of how long it took, making level 4 elixir pills was extremely energy-consuming. Zhao Hongyu's kind acts were to show her gratefulness, but Zhao Yanzi started to get jealous. "Eat this." Zhao Yanzi picked up a piece of fish from its tail and put it in Hao Ren's bowl. Hao Ren looked innocent and pure at this moment. In a short period of time, his bowl was piled with food. "Tood, tood." Zhao Guang tapped the table with his fingers. Zhao Yanzi wasn't entirely convinced but still took her arm back. She didn't feel comfortable about her mom being so lovely toward Xie Yujia. "The things I said weren't just to be polite. I like how you, Yujia, is so considerate and well-mannered, so I do see you like half a daughter of mine," Zhao Hongyu said while looking at Xie Yujia. Xie Yujia blushed a little. Even if the things that happened today didn't occur, Zhao Hongyu still treated Xie Yujia well in the past. Xie Yujia was gentle, unlike how crazy Zhao Yanzi was. That was why adults liked her. Also, Zhao Hongyu was an incredible motherly figure and was gentle in temperament. "If only our Yanzi is half as good as Yujia, I wouldn't have to worry about her so much," Zhao Hongyu said. "Mom," Zhao Yanzi said, sounding slightly discontent. Beside her was Zhao Guang, who had on a serious face. That was why she didn't dare to shout at the dinner table. "Yanzi is very cute and energetic," Xie Yujia said. "Hee hee." Zhao Hongyu smiled. She thought it would probably be impossible for Zhao Yanzi to learn how to be like Xie Yujia. She didn't mind taking in another daughter, but it was up to Xie Yujia. When Zhao Yanzi turned into a human cultivator, the soul formation real cultivator helped her build the foundation, and Xie Yujia had taught Zhao Yanzi the specific cultivation techniques. According to the rules of the cultivation sex, Xie Yujia was Zhao Yanzi's senior, while the soul formation real cultivator was her teacher. Overall, Xie Yujia treated Zhao Yanzi fairly well. If it weren't for Hao Ren, Zhao Yanzi wouldn't be so hostile to Xie Yujia. Zhao Hongyu knew this point well. She turned around and looked at Hao Ren as he just focused on his food, pretending not to see Zhao Yanzi's angry face across the table. "Ren also has it tough," Zhao Hongyu thought as she shook her head. Dinner went by slowly. Zhao Guang asked how the exams were in the middle of dinner, and Zhao Yanzi turned speechless. Zhao Yanzi scratched her head and had no more aggressiveness. Her grades were her weaknesses. Since she didn't study hard enough, her status wasn't that high on the dinner table. After dinner, Xie Yujia volunteered to help tidy up, and Zhao Hongyu didn't decline her offer. When she saw how well her mom and Xie Yujia worked together, Zhao Yanzi wrinkled her nose, and her two little, pointed teeth showed. She looked as if she was ready to bite someone. Hao Ren was sitting on the sofa, which was far from Zhao Yanzi. He was scared that he would become a sacrificial lamb when she exploded from her anger. "Auntie. Thanks for having me over today." Xie Yujia cleaned the table. She said and bowed slightly to Zhao Hongyu. "We're really happy to have you over. I haven't even thanked you for the beauty pill from last time," Zhao Hongyu said with a smile. "It's no big deal." Xie Yujia smiled sweetly. "Okay. Ask Hao Ren to bring you home, and come over and eat dinner with us when you have time. Hao Ren helps out at my studio on the weekends, so you can come over and take a look as well," Zhao Hongyu said amiably. "Okay. Thank you, Auntie." Xie Yujia nodded slightly. She was extremely well-mannered. Her own parents were in the US, so they couldn't take care of her. Yu Yang did pay attention to her life, but she was a strong and independent female scientist, so she didn't have a gentle motherly temperament like Zhao Hongyu. That was why Zhao Hongyu's motherliness made Xie Yujia feel incredibly warm. "Go home and rest early today. You have exams at the university next week, so you should study well." Zhao Hongyu nagged a bit and shouted out, "Ren, you should go back earlier too." Hao Ren jumped up from the sofa and hurried to the door. He was extremely cautious of the angered Zhao Yanzi as she was ready to bite someone. The Ferrari parked outside could bring Xie Yujia home. "Mom, I want." Zhao Yanzi stood up and mumbled. Zhao Hongyu had raised Zhao Yanzi for tens of years. Zhao Hongyu knew very clearly what Zhao Yanzi was planning in her little head. She smiled and said, "You can go to Ren's place. Go along now. Exams are over anyway." When Zhao Yanzi heard this, she jumped up and ran over to the door happily. After all, Zhao Hongyu cared about her a lot. She didn't care what expression was on Hao Ren's face. If she wanted to stay over at Hao Ren's place, there was nothing he could do to stop her. If he didn't let her, she would use Hao Ren's grandma as her ultimate weapon. However, when grades come out, and you're not top 3 in your class, you can't go anywhere this summer vacation, Zhao Hongyu continued to say. Zhao Yanzi's footsteps became heavier. She dragged herself by Hao Ren and suddenly turned into a good girl. She realized that she still needed Hao Ren's support. If her grades didn't meet Zhao Hongyu's expectations, even with Hao Ren's grandma on her side, she couldn't get away from trouble, unless Hao Ren helped her say a few good words. "Let's go. Let's go." Hao Ren could only lead Xie Yujia away as he saw Zhao Yanzi looking extremely depressed. The Ferrari was still parked across the street. This limited edition Ferrari now exposed one of its biggest weak spots. It couldn't take two beauties at the same time. "I can ride Little White back," Xie Yujia said. She made an energy sphere, and Little White who was by her feet turned into its snow lion form immediately. Rough, Xie Yujia rode on Little White, and they soared through the air. Normal cultivators couldn't fly in the city, but it was East Ocean City, the district under the surveillance of Hao Ren and Su Han. Xie Yujia was also a disciple of a soul formation realm cultivator, so she was able to have special permission to soar through the city skies. Zhao Yanzi watched as a round sphere flew quickly towards the sea. She pouted and sat in the car. Hong, Hong. Hao Ren started the Ferrari, and it turned into a beam of light. When he came home, Xie Yujia had already climbed back into her room through her window. Little White returned to its puppy form and was rolling around on the living room floor, eating a piece of apple from Grandma's hand. Grandma was extremely happy. Gongzi, Lu Linlin and Lu Lili suddenly appeared, startling Hao Ren. These two poor girls, their grandpa is out doing work, and they don't have a place to eat at. Grandma hugged Little White and said to Hao Ren. Lu Linlin and Lu Lili made innocent faces together. Hao Ren didn't have a choice but had to let them stay, though he didn't know whether Lu Qing was in East Ocean City or not. However, Lu Qing didn't know how to cook, so the Lu sisters did not have much to eat. "Grandma, I'll take Little White." Hao Ren held Little White by the neck, and he walked towards the stairs. This little beast discovered that the food Grandma fed it had the elixir pull Xie Yujia secretly put in, so it was nice to Grandma. Gongzi, Lu Linlin and Lu Lili raced up the stairs. "Grandma." Zhao Yanzi walked in and said cutely to Grandma. Then, she followed Hao Ren up the stairs. Xie Yujia's room door was opened. She saw Hao Ren taking Little White up, so she smiled at Grandma and also followed him up. Grandma was sitting on the sofa. When she saw 4 girls following Hao Ren up the stairs, she smiled with happiness. Apparently, Little White's poop could act as a catalyst for the spirit herbs. "We could try it today," Hao Ren said as he walked towards the balcony in his room. "Okay." Xie Yujia's eyes brightened. She also wanted to confirm whether the writings on the rare technique was true or not. However, she was so busy studying recently that she didn't have time to try. Both Hao Ren and she were engineer students, so they were willing to conduct experiments. Hao Ren grabbed a pot of cactus and put it under Little White's butt. He knelt to observe Little White. Zhao Yanzi was blinking her big eyes, curiously. She also knelt and stared at Little White. Lu Linlin and Lu Lili also knelt with their elbows on their knees and their hands holding their chins. They surrounded Little White. Xie Yujia knelt next to Hao Ren. She stared anxiously at Little White's butt. It was very important to her as an elixir master to know whether Little White's poop was as potent as it was said to be. In the center, Little White's butt was on the cactus, and its 2 legs were shivering. How can I poop when so many people are watching? Little White thought as its eyes turned watery as if it were going to cry. Chapter 464. Super Fertilizer. Little White's back legs were on the edges of the pot, and its front legs were on the wall in front of it. It let out light groaning sounds. Little White, you can do it. Zhao Yanzi clenched both hands and couldn't help but say. Little White looked at Zhao Yanzi innocently, and it continued to frown. Pooping was something that should not be forced, and Little White had never experienced this. There were so many people surrounding it, staring at it anxiously as it tried to poop. They already treated Little White as a mount, but now they were trying to manage when it was going to poop. A light breeze blew from the sea, making Little White's butt shiver. It doesn't seem to be working. Let's feed Little White. Xie Yujia got 3 energy fusion pills from her bracelet and put it in front of Little White. Once it saw the elixir pills, Little White instantly brightened up. It stuck out its red tongue and devoured the pills on Xie Yujia's hands. As soon as the pills were eaten, Little White felt an urge. It shook its butt, and little golden nuggets fell. Huh? Why isn't it stinky at all? Zhao Yanzi was curious, so she almost went to smell it up close. Hao Ren rushed to stop her. Regardless of whether it smelled bad or not, it was still poop. However, it did smell pretty good. This typical swirl-shaped poop let out a fragrant scent, and it was now in the flower pot which held the cactus. Currently, there was no change to the cactus. Hao Ren put the flower pot back onto the balcony. Then, he lifted Little White, who was exhausted from pooping, and used a tissue to wipe its butt before putting it back on the floor. Little White regained its energy again and started jumping up and down toward Zhao Yanzi. Zhao Yanzi rushed to dodge as she didn't want to hug Little White now because it just finished pooping. Then, Little White jumped toward Xie Yujia, and the latter opened her eyes widely and rushed to dodge as well. Little White saw that they both didn't want to hug it, so it jumped toward Lu Linlin and Lu Lili. The Lu sisters were incredibly clean people, so they shrieked and blocked Little White. Little White didn't give up just yet. It shook its butt and jumped at them once again. It had just used all its energy to poop, so it wanted some love and care. The 4 girls were screaming and dodging in Hao Ren's room. They were so loud that Grandma, who was sitting on the living room sofa and watching TV, couldn't help but look up in the direction of Hao Ren's room and shook her head. Very soon, the 4 girls were running out of Hao Ren's room with Little White chasing after them. They scattered in 4 different directions. Little White essentially was a snow lion, but it didn't have a lion's mindset. It loved to play. Therefore, the more the girls ran, the more it wanted to catch them. The house was instantly turned into a wild playground. Grandma sat still on the sofa, watching the girls running around in the living room. She smiled happily. It was deep into the night. Hao Ren was sitting on his bed, quietly circulating his nature essence according to his light-splitting sword shadow scroll. Ever since he ate the elixir pill that old grandma gave him, his cultivation speed hadn't been as fast as it used to be. Of course, Hao Ren knew that it was because his meridians inside his body were now secured. If he had followed the way he used to train, striving to only charge at higher levels, there would be more and more hidden injuries inside his body. If his body collapsed because of his reckless training, even a level 9 golden pill couldn't save him. Hao Ren was busy with his usual mortal life, but he wouldn't slack off his training because it was not only for himself but was also for the safety of Zhao Yanzi in the future. Old Grandma enabled Zhao Yanzi to cultivate human cultivators' techniques, but that only made her body stronger. Fundamentally as a dragon, the problem of losing her dragon core hadn't been fixed. His nature essence was slowing circulating as the sword energies flowed around him. Hao Ren's room was lit up colorfully as hundreds of sword energies, as thin as needles, flew him like fishes that were swimming in the deep sea. Wah, 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 wah. Hundreds of colorful thin needles flew up toward the clouds through the crack of the window. Hao Ren closed his eyes in his room. However, he was able to feel the great sea at night. The hundreds of thin sword energies were scattered in the sky, and each of them absorbed the nature essence. Rain was starting to fall into the sea. The dark clouds were close to the sea surface, and the thunder roared. The thin floating needles were charged by the lighting as they floated in the clouds. Break! Hao Ren lightly shouted while his eyes were still closed, and he was still sitting in his room. Pung! The hundreds of golden needles formed into one large golden dragon, swirling the waves tens of meters high. Then, the waves twisted toward the clouds. Wah, 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 the hundreds of needles dashed into the clouds again, absorbing all the lightning energies in them. Whoosh! All the golden needles pierced into the sea. At that moment, everything was dead silent. Two dragons array formation. Hao Ren was able to move the sword energies as he wished. Hong! The 320 sword energies formed two large waves as they rushed out from the bottoms of the sea. Hao Ren's home was next to the sea. Therefore, Hao Ren was able to fly the sword energies thousands of meters away and practice in the middle of the night. Two beams of strong sword energies went through the sky. Then, they separated into thin needles and flew a few thousand meters to return to Hao Ren's room. Pa! Hao Ren's dragon core finally got another opening. He had absorbed the nature essence from nature and the lightning, and it was nourishing Hao Ren's body. The light-splitting sword shadow scroll was overbearing as it could absorb lightning energy and create sword energies that could feed back information to the practitioner. Cultivating the 5 elements altogether required 5 times the nature essence, but it was also 5 times the power of a single elemental cultivator. Xie Yujia's 5 elemental life-death notes contained the 5 elements as well, but it didn't require the 5 elements to cultivate. Her technique relied on yin and yang. One was life, and the other was death. It had the power to plunder energy between heaven and earth, so it was even more overbearing than Hao Ren's light-splitting sword shadow scroll. Tens of thousands of Dharma notes as well as tens of thousands of sword energies, Hao Ren pictured it as he cultivated. However, Xie Yujia's talent wasn't the best since the natural 5 elements in her body were mixed. That was why old grandma taught her the 5 elemental life-death notes. If she were like Zhao Yanzi who naturally had a pure water body type, Xie Yujia wouldn't have such a hard time cultivating even without a dragon core. Contrastingly though, she wouldn't be able to use the life-death notes in that case. If Xie Yujia wanted to use tens of thousands of Dharma notes at the same thing, she would need to put in an enormous amount of effort. The thin needle-like sword energies turned into soft light dots and floated in the room. Hao Ren carefully tempered the new opening and was no longer as abrupt as he used to be. He no longer dared to be rough and was willing to spend more time firming the realm rather than forcefully creating a new opening. If his dragon core broke, he would lose all his strength like Zhao Yanzi's third uncle after the heavenly tribulation if he got lucky. If he weren't fortunately, he would die instantly. Hao Ren didn't have Zhao Kuo's level of talent to cultivate back to his original realm even after his dragon core broke. He also couldn't match Su Han's talent as well. The most important thing was that if his dragon core broke, Zhao Yanzi's life would be in danger. That was why Hao Ren was more careful with his training as he was responsible for himself and more importantly Zhao Yanzi. Dawn slowly arrived, and Hao Ren exhaled and finished cultivating for the night. He slowly opened his eyes after cultivating using the light-splitting sword shadow scroll 72 times. The morning sunlight shined through the window. "Huh! Damn!" Hao Ren couldn't help but shout. Outside the window, the cactus had climbed up to the roof, covering Hao Ren's room as if it were in the Amazon. Hao Ren stood up and rushed to open the balcony door that was stuck shut. His balcony had become completely occupied by the cactus. The cactus on the balcony looked as if it were hundreds of years old. It was big and thick, and each of the branches stood up straight. They almost broke the balcony. Damn! Hao Ren didn't expect the cactus to grow so much in one night. Before Little White pooped on it, it was still the size of a palm and was used for decorations. With this crazy growth speed, it would take less than 3 days for it to cover Hao Ren's home by the sea completely. The sky was brightening up, and the cactus continued to grow explosively on his balcony. A part of it even fell from the balcony, reaching the first floor. Hao Ren quickly shot out 16 sword energies to cut the roots of the cactus. Cactuses weren't special spiritual herbs, so it was easy for blades to cut through them, let alone Hao Ren's sword energies. The 16 sword energies cut straight through the bottom of the cactus, and Hao Ren used wood element al nature essence to protect his palms as he lifted the thorny cactus. This little cactus that used to grow in a flower pot was now 2 meters in diameter at the bottom. Hao Ren lifted the enormous cactus and threw it straight into the sea. If Grandma saw this enormous cactus, she would have a heart attack. Pung! The cactus landed in the sea, creating waves over a meter high. The cactus was the size of the balcony, and it floated on the water. It didn't seem like it was going to sink. When Hao Ren saw it, he had the goosebumps. He was scared that the cactus would continue growing. so he shot 16 sword energies to cut the cactus into even smaller pieces. In one night, a cactus that was small grew explosively into one that couldn't fit on the balcony. The small amount of poop from Little White had a potent effect. If this cactus were seen by Hao Ren's dad, he would for sure use it as a biology research project. Hao Ren's 16 sword energies once again started to stir in the cactus, cutting even the floating pieces on the surface of the ocean into tiny bits. Then, he relaxed and went back to his balcony. The other flowerpots and flowers on the balcony were crushed. Hao Ren looked at the concrete fence, and there were cracks on it. The growing power of the cactus was indeed shocking. Toot, toot, toot. A knocking noise sounded on Hao Ren's door. Hao Ren opened the door and saw Xie Yujia in her pajamas. I was helping Grandma in making breakfast, and I suddenly remembered the cactus from yesterday. How is it doing? Xie Yujia said with a faint smile. She was in her pajamas and had a pink apron on. It made her look cozy and virtuous. She rushed through Hao Ren's room to go to the balcony. Where's the cactus? Xie Yujia asked Hao Ren hastily when she didn't see the cactus. Look on the floor, Hao Ren said. Xie Yujia opened her eyes and saw cactus thorns all over the ground. The thorns were as long as one's middle finger, and she was able to picture how big the cactus had become. She picked up a random yellow thorn and tried to break it with her fingers, but she couldn't even bend it. These cactus thorns were even thicker and stronger than the thickest sewing needle at home. Where's the cactus? Xie Yujia couldn't help and asked as she turned her head around. She blinked with curiosity and anticipation, which was adorable. How can I leave it here when it was bigger than the balcony? Hao Ren said. Xie Yujia gaped a little, and her eyes were wide open with shock. She suddenly understood how large the cactus had become. It was too big, and I was scared that it would frighten Grandma. Therefore, I threw it into the sea and cut it to bits before I could tell you to come over and see, Hao Ren said. Okay. Xie Yujia understood, and her eyes began to shine. We should store Little White's poop from now on since it's so potent. Hao Ren didn't know how to respond. Xie Yujia was a girl, so Hao Ren couldn't let her do these kinds of things. The Lu sisters, Zhao Yanzi. Hao Ren thought of the people who could interact with Little White but found that he was the only one who could do this mission. Thinking that he would have to catch little poop every time, Hao Ren felt like his life was extremely sad. The spiritual herbs in the ethereal summit are still young. Now that we have Little White's poop, the elixir pills will be much more potent, Xie Yujia said happily, and she looked like she was filled with anticipation. Yujia! Grandma shouted from downstairs. I'm coming, Grandma. Yujia ran out from Hao Ren's room and down the stairs. Hao Ren slapped his cheeks hard and followed her. What tea did you give me last night? I slept really well and feel very energized today. Grandma looked very healthy and asked as she held a porcelain teacup. It's herbs that I got from someone. I don't even know the name, but it's used to make tea. It's pretty good. Xie Yujia went over to support Grandma and said softly. Hao Ren was curious and looked over, and he saw something red in Grandma's teacup. The blood ginseng from Yuhong Mountain. Hao Ren guessed that Xie Yujia cut off a small part from one of the 6 blood ginsengs. Xie Yujia made the rejuvenation pill for Yuhong Mountain, which meant a lot to them. Therefore, Yuhong Mountain gave 6 blood ginsengs as a sign of appreciation. They were also invaluable. If it were in the ancient times, even the emperors couldn't get their hands on them. However, Grandma was able to drink the tea made from it to improve her health. Hao Ren was right. Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators and even Core Formation Realm cultivators would kill for these blood ginsengs since they could increase nature essence. It tastes quite good. Grandma gave out a satisfied smile and had another sip. Grandma, 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 you're even more precious than an emperor, Hao Ren secretly thought. I still have a few. This one should last for a week. When you finish it, I'll cut you another section, Xie Yujia said with a smile. Okay. Grandma held her teacup and nodded a few times. These blood ginsengs wouldn't last a few months at Grandma's rate of consumption. If the cultivators on Fifth Heaven knew how a mortal used up the 6 blood ginsengs, they would feel like it was such a waste. If Sea and Dragon King found out, he would be so shocked that he might spit out blood. However, Xie Yujia didn't feel like she was wasting it. As long as Grandma could be healthy, she was willing to use even rarer spiritual herbs. She asked Zhen Kongming already, and he said that the blood ginsengs could be used for tea for mortals. However, their effect would be reduced more than 1,000 times on normal people. You guys have exams next week. Don't waste your time and go study. Grandma will make you guys food, Grandma said as she took off Xie Yujia's apron and tapped Xie Yujia's shoulder. Okay. Xie Yujia smiled sweetly and went to her room to get her study materials. Hao Ren saw that their relationship was like grandma and granddaughter. Xie Yujia treated grandma well. And Hao Ren loved how she was considerate and kind. As long as grandma was healthy, picking up little White's poop was nothing. He could use the spiritual herbs to make grandma even healthier. Soon after, Lu Linlin and Lu Lili came downstairs from their room yawning. Hao Zonghua and Yu Yang were away for a conference, so they weren't home this weekend. Therefore, their room was available for Lu Linlin and Lu Lili to stay in. Hao Ren thought a bit and believed that they came over to spend time with grandma, with the additional benefit of getting free food. They both treated grandma well as well. They had come over prepared. Not only did they bring their cartoon pajamas, but they also brought their studying materials. It was almost the rainy season, so the chance of raining increased dramatically. At the moment, rain started to pour outside. In this kind of rain, there were no signs of melancholy. Rather, the house was filled with a warm and intimate atmosphere. The four sat around a small square-shaped table. On the other side of the glass wall was the beach. It was an extremely pretty scene as the rain connected the heaven and the sea. All sorts of notes, papers, textbooks were laid out on the table, making it seem like a good studying environment. Zhao Yanzi just woke up and came out from grandma's room. She was in her tiny slippers. She walked down the stairs and went over to see what they were studying. Then, she saw that she didn't understand a thing on the books and was a little bit disappointed. After all, there was a minor generation gap between her and Hao Ren. However, she was only disappointed for a few minutes and recovered very quickly. She picked up a flowery apron and helped grandma make food in the kitchen. Her exams were over, but Hao Ren had to study. That made her happy. Humph, humph, humph. Let's see how many courses you will fail. Zhen Kongming walked out of his room and stretched lazily at noon. The elementary school finals were a piece of cake to him. Little White followed Zhen Kongming out and jumping up and down. It didn't have final exams. Even without Hao Ren's parents, the house by the sea was still very lively and warm this weekend. The final exams week in the East Ocean University would be taking place in the rainy season. Hao Ren was well prepared, so he was not scared at all. Damn. Hao Ren, you're like a god of exams, Zhou Liren said as he followed Hao Ren out of the last exam. Hao Ren finished all the exams in half the time. Zhou Liren chose all his classes according to Hao Ren's schedule, so he could cheat by peeking at Hao Ren's answers. Hao Ren would move half a shoulder when Zhou Liren poked him so that the latter could see, but it was up to Zhou Liren whether or now he could see clearly. Hao Ren was godlike during exams, gaining Zhou Liren's respect. They walked down out of the academic building D together, and the weather was sunny now. Su Han, who was wearing a sapphire blue one-piece dress, was waiting for Hao Ren outside. Chapter 465. Entering Dragon God Shrine. Let's go. Su Han stared at Hao Ren and said with almost no emotions. Okay. Hao Ren didn't think much and walked to Su Han. Su Han turned around swiftly and walked toward the school gate. She wore a pearl necklace around her slender neck, and the sapphire blue one-piece dress made her look gorgeous. Zhou Liren stood at the academic building, looking astonished. Zhao Jiayi came out from the same examination room. He was standing on the sky bridge that connected Academic Building C and Academic Building D, and he shouted, "Where's Hao Ren? Let's go eat together before summer vacation starts." Zhou Liren finally reacted, and he pointed to the school's front gate and shouted, "He left with Su Han." Damn it! Inhumane, Zhao Jiayi was so mad that he jumped into the air. At that moment, Hao Ren walked with Su Han out of the school and into a deserted crossing. When Su Han told him to come with her, he didn't think much. He knew it was because of work. Su Han was especially pretty today, so there was a moment that caused Hao Ren to freeze. Today was the last day of school, and Su Han dressed up a little bit prettier than usual as a type of self-liberation. That pearl necklace made her elegance come out. If it were the ancient times when men fought over girls, she would have been able to create absolute chaos with her beauty. Hao Ren couldn't help but secretly think about Su Han's beauty. "What are you looking at?" Su Han asked coldly. Hao Ren quickly looked away. If Su Han knew what he was thinking about, he would for sure get a beating that he could never be able to escape from. Since it was almost summer vacation, some of the students who finished their exams early had gone home. The area surrounding the school no longer had as many students as it usually would. Su Han created a red energy sphere. The white jade longsword grew longer under her foot, and she grabbed Hao Ren as they flew up high into the sky. "I told you that I needed to take you to the Dragon God Shrine to report," Su Han said with a cold voice. "Okay." Hao Ren let out two sword energies under his feet. He adjusted his body and stood on the back of Su Han's jade sword. It was very uncomfortable to be lifted by the shoulder like how Su Han was doing to him now, But it was still easier to stand on her jade sword as it saved him energy. As a Qian level master, her white jade longsword had no problem of carrying another person. Su Han turned around and rolled her eyes at him but didn't say anything. Hao Ren unconsciously smelled the faint scent behind Su Han's neck. Since Su Han was a beauty, she was very sexy when she rolled her eyes. Wah! The white jade longsword moved so fast that a white flash followed behind it. At that moment at school, Huang Zuji was about going home in his Mercedes S350. He suddenly saw a little white dog rolling around in the grasses behind the library. Its fur was white, and its claws were golden. Isn't that Hao Ren's dog? Huang Zuji thought. The little white dog had come to the school a few times, and it is slowly becoming the favorite animal of the female students. Little White was getting more and more famous to the extent that Huang Zuji knew about it. He parked his Mercedes S350 by the grass. Little White was rolling on the grass and biting a stick. It paused for half a second and looked at Huang Zuji but continued to play around with the stick. Huang Zuji slowly walked over, but Little White didn't mind him and just continued playing with its stick. Super. Huang Zuji looked around and didn't see any other students around. Most of the exams at East Ocean University had ended this morning, so the majority of students had already gone home. The girls who usually went to the grasses behind the library to feed Little White were no longer in sight. Huang Zuji had been training at the famous Sun Yun martial art dojo, so he was agiler than before. He swooped over to catch the rolling dog. Hao Ren's pet dog. Even though I can't do anything to Hao Ren, I can eat his dog. Huang Zuji smiled evilly. He was about to take Little White to his car, but Little White struggled hard. You useless little dog, want to escape? Huang Zuji couldn't help but be full of himself. He had failed because of Hao Ren a few times. However, since Hao Ren came from a better background than him, he couldn't have his vengeance, so he was furious. The little dog was just the right thing for him to vent his anger. Especially since Hao Ren is always around this little dog, he must love this dog very much. If he loses it, he must feel very sad. Huang Zuji opened his car door and was about to throw Little White inside. Roar! Little White, who was only the size of a palm, suddenly turned into a fierce white lion. This snow-white lion was bigger than the Benz S350. Huang Zuji opened his eyes wide, and his legs felt weak. Bam! He sat helplessly on the cement floor. Monster, his head was blank. The harder he thought, the emptier it was. When he quickly rubbed his eye, he saw a little white dog. This little dog left him as it ran away with its round butt, wriggling its tail. It jumped right into a pretty female student who was walking by the library, and it bit that girl's fingers lightly to get her attention. *T. It must be that my head is too blank after the exams. I must have a hallucination. Huang Zuji rushed to get up from the ground and into his car. He restarted the S350's engine, but he discovered that there was a dent in the shape of a large paw print on top of the engine cover. It was a Mercedes that was worth more than 1 million yuan. Huang Zuji touched his pants and discovered it was all wet. He had been so scared that he peed himself, and he also fainted for a moment there. When he saw the dog happily racing across the plaza in front of the library, he no longer could tell what it was. The dent in the front of the car might have been from a student who doesn't like me, and he hit my car with a rock when I fainted momentarily. Little White played in the East Ocean University campus freely. Now, Hao Ren and Su Han had reached the Dragon God Shrine. The enormous round platform that was supporting the Dragon God Shrine let out a mysterious light. This was the most complex array formation on First Heaven. It far exceeded the 4 Ocean Dragon Palaces protection array formation. According to the agreement made hundreds of years ago, the dragon cultivators and the human cultivators had their own territories. However, they were still cautious toward each other. If a large-scale war were to break out, the Dragon God Shrine would be the Dragon Tribe's military headquarters. This type of complex defense formation array was therefore necessary. If you don't have your token, you can't see the array formation unless you have reached Qian level or Kun level, or you have extraordinary spiritual senses, Su Han explained to Hao Ren as they rode on her sword and entered the place. As they crossed the array formation, the token on Hao Ren's waist flashed once. This was an inspector's token. Each inspector would only have one and would need to use nature essence to activate it. It was basically a natal dharma treasure. If the inspector died, the token would self-explode. If the inspector were seriously injured, the token would also react. There was no need to worry about other cultivators stealing an inspector's identity to try to sneak into the Dragon God Shrine. The array formation around the Dragon God Shrine would only open a few layers during the few days around the Dragon Boat Festival for the Dragon God Shrine's general exams. However, those few days were when the dragon god shrine was the strongest. The inspectors who worked outside returned, and plenty of dragon cultivators could be here. During this time, even if the array formation were a few layers weaker, the human cultivators would not dare to invade the dragon god shrine. Usually, a regular cultivator would not be able to see the dragon god shrine, just like how a mortal would not see the energy sphere cultivators created. The red energy spheres of dragon cultivators were extremely powerful techniques to mortals, and the dragon god shrine's array formation was also extraordinary to those cultivators who were below Kun level. When they crossed the energy sphere, they saw that the rooms that were used for the exams and the buildings that were used for residence during the exams were quiet. No one could be seen. The dragon god shrine only opened to the public once a year. That was why these places were quiet right now. Of course, if a large-scale war were to happen between the dragon cultivators and the human cultivators, the dragon god shrine would become the headquarters, and a lot of dragon cultivators would be able to be fit in here. There was a black wall surrounding the outer city. The battling arenas were in between the war and the core dragon god shrine. After some reconstruction, the damage done during the combat exams had been restored. The east exam area that was wiped to the ground by Hao Ren and Zhao Kuo now was restored to its original form. It had 25 small arenas there. Hao Ren, who was standing on Su Han's jade longsword, couldn't help but remember the fierce battles he had fought. Every year, talented inspectors would be chosen from the winning dragon cultivators. Hao Ren didn't fight until the last battle, but he had proved himself to the dragon god shrine. Near the dragon god shrine were a few inspectors riding on their dharma treasures. They were flying around, but the number of inspectors was much less compared to during the exams. They landed by the east entrance of the dragon god shrine. Su Han pulled back her white jade sword and turned to face Hao Ren. Hao Ren was a bit nervous when she looked at him. Strictly speaking, only official inspectors could enter the dragon god shrine. During this year's exams, the people from East Ocean Dragon Clan and the West Ocean Dragon Clan had gone inside to discuss businesses, and that was the only exception. Aside from that incident, the Dragon Kings and the former Dragon Kings were not allowed inside. Hao Ren was a level 3 inspector, so he should be able to go in. Hao Ren took a deep breath. It was the first time he was entering the Dragon God Shrine. Chapter 466. Dragon Tribe's central agency. The towering Dragon God Shrine looks similar to the Grand Tower in the Nine Dragon Palace. In fact, the Dragon God Shrine, which was in the center of the floating platform, was based on the Nine Dragon Palace. No matter how grand the Dragon God Shrine was, it was unable to exceed the presence that the magnificent Nine Dragon Palace. If the Nine Dragon Palace were East Ocean City, then the Dragon God Shrine's platform would only be a piece of land in the East Ocean City, and the Dragon God Shrine would be a skyscraper on top of that land. The Dragon God Shrine was made of innumerable pieces of black stones. Hao Ren felt a shiver down his spine as soon as he stepped inside. These black stones were not ordinary materials. Many cultivators would admire the Dragon God Shrine just by the materials that it was made from. The power of the Dragon God Shrine was extraordinary. These materials were used to form numerous array formations, turning the Dragon God Shrine into a large Dharma treasure. Each area inside the Dragon God Shrine has specified access levels, so you can't just go running around. Su Han turned around and instructed Hao Ren as she walked inside. Okay. Hao Ren nodded, and he observed the inside of the Dragon God Shrine as he walked. The interior was all made from black stones, and it let out shivering waves of cold air. The more inward Hao Ren got, the colder it was. Hao Ren couldn't help but shiver. Then, he immediately started to use the light-splitting sword shadow scroll to warm himself up. Aside from the ice-cold temperature, the rooms were standard, so it gave a dull impression. From the outside, the Dragon God Shrine was a square building. Who knew that everything, including the pillars, were square-shaped even inside the building? Actually, every zone in the East Ocean Dragon Palace had specified access levels. Since you're related of Zhao Guang, no one would block you, Su Han said. Hao Ren turned around and looked at Su Han as she continued, in the Dragon God Shrine, no matter what royal background you came from, you're only a level 3 inspector. If you do anything wrong, the Dragon God Shrine has the power to punish you. Su Han looked serious, making Hao Ren feel very nervous. The East Ocean Dragon Palace valued relationships, but the Dragon God Shrine was stricter with rules. This could be shown by Qin Xiaoyang from the Metal Elemental Dragon Clan. He was arrogant but never dared to disobey the Dragon God Shrine's rules. In Su Han's case, she was a Qian-level cultivator. Because of what happened in the East Ocean, she was demoted to a level 3 inspector without exception. Inspectors having special privileges also meant that they were bound by the Dragon God Shrine. Click, 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 Su Han's heels made a series of crisp sounds as she walked on the black stone floor inside the dragon god shrine. "Take your token out and put it by your waist," Su Han said. Hao Ren followed her orders and took out his inspector's token from inside his body. He suddenly realized that the token had turned yellow when they came inside. The inspectors coming toward them had white tokens by their waists. These few inspectors respectfully cleared a path for them to pass through. The tokens all look similar outside the dragon god shrine. What's different is the number of golden dragon claws carved on it. However, when you're inside the dragon god shrine, the tokens will appear in different colors. White for level 1 inspectors, silver for level 2 inspectors, yellow for level 3 inspectors, and golden for level 4 inspectors. Su Han continued to explain. With her personality, she didn't like speaking much. Since it was the first time Hao Ren entered the dragon god shrine, she had to give him some explanation. Of course, this rare patience was only toward Hao Ren. "I recommend you put your token out when you're in the dragon god shrine. Different levels have different access restrictions," Su Han said. When they were talking, a level 4 inspector walked by. Su Han waved and said hi, but he only lightly nodded and walked by. He didn't even look at Hao Ren. In the dragon god shrine, higher-leveled inspectors could command lower-leveled inspectors to do stuff. Normally though, the level 4 inspectors only command level 1 and level 2 inspectors, so you probably don't need to worry about that. Su Han continued to explain to Hao Ren as they walked, "And since you're mine, I don't think any level 4 inspectors will dare to make you do anything." "You're mine." Hao Ren was stunned. Su Han's words were calm, but the underlying meaning was domineering. In the whole inspector system, there weren't that many level 4 inspectors. Su Han was almost the strongest amongst all the level 4 inspectors before, so all the other level 4 inspectors recognized Su Han. That was why even when Su Han was demoted to a level 3 inspector, they would still pay Su Han some respect. Su Hao led Hao Ren into a small room. Inside the room sat an old man who looked a bit like Premier Shah. He had wrinkles all over his face and looked ancient. "Elder Luo," Su Han said as she led Hao Ren in. "This is the old cultivator whose last name was Luo," said as he squinted at Hao Ren. "He's the new level 3 inspector, Hao Ren. I brought him here to register," Su Han said. "Oh, I remember now, he was your assisting inspector." The old cultivator nodded. "Han, you never had assisting inspectors before. This was a first." Assisting inspectors were not allowed inside the dragon god shrine but were still required to be registered, which would be done by their supervising inspectors. Hao Ren jumping from assisting inspector to a level 3 inspector was a big change, so this old cultivator who oversaw registration knew of him. However, he never expected the new level 3 inspector to be this young. "He's also now the regional inspector at the East Ocean City," Su Han said. "Understood. Understood." The old cultivator handed Hao Ren an ink brush and pointed at the name registry. "Sign here." Hao Ren held the brush and used nature essence on it. The tip of the ink brush turned stiff, like a fountain pen, and Hao Ren wrote his name using it. The old cultivator reached out to lightly touch the token by Hao Ren's waist. Tens of light dots shined on the yellow token but then disappeared immediately. "You're a new inspector, so let me explain. I have not only the registry but also different missions you could take." The old cultivator took out a thick book and put it in front of Hao Ren. Hao Ren flipped open the book, and on it were lines and lines of missions for the inspectors. He flipped to the recent records and saw that some had already been completed. The Wuyi Mountain couldn't deal with the 100-year-old demon bees, and they requested help from the Dragon God Shrine. Level 3 Inspector Yi Feijing had taken on the mission. He had killed all the bees on February 16, year Xinmao. Shuan level cultivator, Kong Ling, had caused great disruption and deaths at the West Ocean's Thousand Spirit Island. Level 4 Inspector, Hong Fongyang, took on the mission. Kong Ling was caught and imprisoned on March 6, year Xinmao. A spirit stone was discovered by ordinary researchers at the 1825 Art District of the East Ocean City. Level 2 Inspector, Mo Xie, took on the mission. He destroyed the spirit stone on April 3, year Xinmao. Hao Ren's eyes brightened when he saw this. That spirit stone was the one he accidentally dropped on the roof. Didn't it end up being sent to the country's research centers? Hao Ren thought. It seemed like the spirit stone had been destroyed by an inspector, and the one in the research center was probably just an ordinary rock that replaced the one destroyed. No results would come out now from the research. Let's go, Hao Ren. Su Han tapped Hao Ren. Inspectors can improve their contribution by taking on missions that were set out by the Dragon God Shrine. The inspectors would receive certain rewards for their missions, as well as gaining some experience from the job. However, Su Han thought Hao Ren would be better off sticking to his usual training for now. The stamp has been unlocked. Han, bring him over, the old cultivator said. Thanks, Elder Luo, Su Han said politely and led Hao Ren out of the room. What did the blinks on the token resemble? Hao Ren asked softly. It's your first time at the Dragon God Shrine, and your authorization will only be unlocked when you register here. Otherwise, you'll fall into the many traps ahead, Su Han said. Hao Ren was secretly shocked by how well the defense of the Dragon God Shrine was. Even the strong cultivators who were able to duplicate Inspector's token to trick the array formations and enter the Dragon God Shrine would not be able to reach deep inside. This old man acted as the first guard on the first-floor lobby of the Dragon God Shrine. Any new inspectors who enter the Dragon God Shrine for the first time must go to him so that he could recognize their faces and grant them access according to their respective levels. What realm is he on? I couldn't tell, Hao Ren asked. Qian, Su Han responded calmly. Hiss, Hao Ren gasped and thought, the Dragon God Shrine sure is powerful. Eve Guard is on Qian level. There are many powerful people here at the Dragon God Shrine. It's better not to do anything recklessly. Su Han warned Hao Ren as she saw right through him. Su Han led Hao Ren to a staircase that was also made of black stone. Beside the staircase was a square pillar that had a two-clawed golden dragon mark on it. The two-clawed golden dragon mark means that we are going into the area accessible to only inspectors who are level 2 or beyond, Su Han said. Hao Ren followed Su Han up the stairs. He looked back at the lobby and thought to himself, level 1 inspectors could only stay on the first floor of the Dragon God Shrine. Except for that old man's room where inspectors could take on missions, there were only some lounges for communication and resting on the first floor. Those cultivators who risked their lives to become inspectors would typically become level 1 inspectors. With the identity of inspector, they would be able to enter the Dragon God Shrine and have the opportunity to get different missions. Even enough it was just that, all the dragon cultivators fought day and night for these few quotas. This only went to show the difference in resources between big forces and small forces. Don't you think that there's something different in the Dragon God Shrine compared with the outside? Su Hao asked as she continued walking. Different, Hao Ren went blank for a moment and then started to think about it in more depth. Inside the ice-cold Dragon God Shrine, the nature essence intensity was 7 to 8 times higher than the outside. Hao Ren trained in 5th heaven often, and 5th heaven had 3 or 4 times the nature essence intensity than 1st heaven. The ethereal summit had even higher concentrations of nature essence than other places on 5th heaven, around 7 to 8 times more than 1st heaven. That was why even though Hao Ren felt cold, he didn't feel anything special about the Dragon God Shrine. However, the Dragon God Shrine was like a cultivation heaven to many dragon cultivators since it was so dense with nature essence. As long as one became an inspector, even if it were just level 1, he or she would be able to enjoy this nature essence intensity. Since the Dragon God Shrine was itself like an essence stem, cultivating here would be more efficient. I joined the Dragon God Shrine because I wanted to advance faster, Su Han said calmly. Anything on and above 5th heaven were the territories of the human cultivators. Those weren't the places that traditional dragon cultivators could easily access. Hao Ren cultivated the light-splitting sword shadow scroll which required simultaneously pulled in all 5 elements, while Zhao Yanzi and Xie Yujia cultivated using human cultivation techniques. Lu Linlin and Lu Lili weren't dragon cultivators, and Zhen Kongming didn't have the aura of a dragon as well. That was why they were all able to move freely on 5th heaven. The dragon cultivators above Zhen level but below Kun level did not dare to enter 5th heaven recklessly because they couldn't guarantee that they would be able to go back in one piece. They wouldn't dare to even go into a valley, let alone creating a cave abode there. Even Su Han didn't dare to trespass into 5th heaven before she reached Kun level. The cultivation sects had deep hostility toward dragon cultivators, and they were also very sensitive to dragons' auras. 5th heaven was the front line for the cultivation sects, and it was key to fend off possible invading dragon cultivators. The dragon cultivators who succeeded in passing through 5th heaven would immediately face cultivators from 6th or even 7th heaven. These stairs are round, Hao Ren suddenly said as he followed Su Han up the stairs. Everything in the Dragon God Shrine was in squares, but this staircase was oddly in a circular design. On one side of the staircase was a gold wall. On the other side, the staircase was connected to floors full of rooms. These rooms were like the designs in a hotel or an office, with rooms right next to each other. Some larger rooms were made with transparent crystals, resembling gyms, libraries, and bars of a luxury hotel. They corresponded to training rooms, cultivation rooms, and resting areas. These crystal rooms had a 3-clawed golden dragon or a 4-clawed golden dragon mark on their lintels or doorposts. Those resembled the access restrictions of the inspectors. The Dragon God Shrine was the place that one could improve their skills fastest. It had the best environment for cultivation, had the best cores, had the best techniques, and different opportunities where you could gain fighting experience both internally and externally, Su-han said. Hao Ren nodded. Hao Ren had seen the riches in the East Ocean Dragon Palace, so he wasn't especially impressed. However, for the cultivators who came from middle to smaller-sized powers which lacked resources, the Dragon God Shrine was the highest source of agency and school they could attain. That was why they admired and longed to enter the Dragon God Shrine. The pillar beside the staircase had a 3-clawed golden dragon mark. Anywhere beyond it was restricted to level 3 inspectors or above. The higher one went, the colder it was. The colder it was, the denser the nature essence. Hao Ren leaned against the wall by the side. He never thought he would have walked for so long up the stairs. It was probably equivalent to walking up 30 floors in a normal building. If it were an ordinary person, he or she would have been exhausted by now. The staircase was extended by a counter-clockwise spiral. Hao Ren turned around to look at the wall on his left and suddenly realized that this was one long and big pillar. The pillar linked the bottom of the Dragon God Shrine to the golden ceiling. Chapter 467. Meeting an acquaintance. The dungeon. The room above is ours, Su-han said when she saw Hao Ren pausing. Our room. This phrase sounded a bit strange. Hao Ren hurried to catch up with Su-han as they walked upward. Inside the Dragon God Shrine were strong array formations. With Hao Ren's ability at low-tier gen level, he wasn't able to break the restriction of the array formations and fly up even if he had the authorization. They continued to climb up a few floors. Then, Su-han finally turned into the corridor connecting to the stairs, and Hao Ren rushed to follow. This swirling staircase in the Dragon God Shrine linked different floors and corridors as if it were a maze. On the 2 sides of the corridor were stone doors. East Ocean City. On the top of a heavy stone door was engraved 3 ancient characters. Su-han took out her token and put it in the dent on the door. The door slowly opened, and a wide space appeared. This place couldn't even be described as a room. It was like a top-class presidential suite. The super living room was made of black stones. Because of the black color, it looked solemn and luxurious. There were a few crystals mounted on the walls, and they acted like windows, allowing the people inside to look out. Because a giant floating platform lifted the Dragon God Shrine, and Hao Ren's suite was on the 34th floor, the sceneries he saw through the crystal windows was the blue sky and white clouds. This was like a top-class suite that floated in the sky. The flooring was black, and the tables and desks were also made of black stones. However, they were not rough because they had been polished smooth. Also, the nature essence inside was even denser than outside. The East Ocean City is one of the 4 largest cities that are connected with the 4 ocean dragon clans, so the regional inspectors of East Ocean City have the best treatment compared to other regional inspectors. Su-han put the token by her waist again and walked inside elegantly. This is our resting place at the Dragon God Shrine. Hao Ren walked in and saw a bedroom in the suite. Rather than calling it a bedroom, it was more like a cultivation room because there was a white jade bed instead of a regular bed. You can go and give it a try, Su-han said. Hao Ren walked into the bedroom that was to the left of the door. Inside this room were other daily essentials in addition to the white jade bed that was in a square shape and 3 meters on each side. Hao Ren reached out to touch the white jade bed, and he cooled down immediately. Don't underestimate this white jade bed. It's made of 10,000-year-old cold jade. Its quality isn't too different from my natal Dharma treasure. Hao Ren thought back to Su-han's white jade sword. He believed that the material that made Su-han's natal Dharma treasure wouldn't be bad. It was an extreme luxury to use this piece of material as a bed since it was of similar material as Su-han's white jade sword. It meant that this white jade bed was far more expensive than a bed made from pure gold. Hao Ren almost wanted to run over and chip some of it for his own use. Of course, he wouldn't do that kind of stuff. If it were Zhen Kongming though, he might have done it. Hao Ren lied down on the white jade bed and started to use the light-splitting sword shadow scroll, and it was no longer cold. Contrastingly, he felt a warm energy embracing him. The 4 openings that were recently unlocked in his dragon core were nurtured by the warm energy. This type of 10,000-year-old cold jade bed looks like ordinary cold jade. But when nature essence is used, it would have the characteristics of warm jade. That is why this white jade bed could not only be used to assist with cultivation but also for healing. Su-han's words disrupted Hao Ren's experience. Hao Ren turned around and saw that Su-han had lied down sideways on the white jade bed as well. He had